Everybody to the NACE Starleague. Once again, we are here with the playoffs talk of the third time this week. We had some going on Tuesday, we had some going on Thursday, and both of those days were quite entertaining. And now, finally, we are here. Lower round 6 is actually where we're starting for today. But I gotta say, Taco, I am incredibly excited to be here. We have an amazing matchup for number 1. Oh boy. Tell me how hyped you are. I can see the look in your eyes, Taco. Tell me how hyped you are.
Well, not only because that, we have a twist we can present to the viewers a little bit later, which might not actually transpire, which makes it almost a twist on a twist. That is so much twistiness that I, in fact, hype. So, it is King University. It is Mizzou Columbia hopping in on the stream for the first match. And that's going to be a fantastic matchup, not only because it's a CRL team in Mizzou against the kind of perennial bubble team in King, but because... should we tell them about the twist, Squid? I feel like it's our duty to talk about it, but at the end of the day, it's not going to come through, so I don't want to tease that, though.
Well, I feel like, you know, the twist was kind of like I thought you were doing like a pun because King Tornado Twisters are tornadoes. Yeah.
Oh, they are. Wow. Okay, that was next
So
level.
that's kind of what I was thinking you were
that.
doing there.
See,
But I guess
that's why you're professional. That's what you.
Taco was
paid
just
$2.
so good at making these puns that he didn't even realize he was making a pun. But yeah,
90%
no.
of the time where someone DMs me, be like, or like you even has done that. I've said something and you're like, oh, I see what you did there, and I'm like, what I do there? Like I don't say that aloud, but I'm just like I'm not 100% sure what I did, but I will take credit for it.
No, but I mean, coming up on this match, I mean, this is something similar to what we saw yesterday, or on Thursday. I did the exact same thing less than 5 minutes ago in the green room when we saw on Thursday in RIT versus Northeastern University. This is a CRL team who is playing off against a CRL hopeful, or a long-time CRL hopeful at the very least here. So Mizzou out of the West. So this is a little bit of the difference, right? You know, NEU, they failed to qualify for CRL in the East, of course. RIT was over on the Eastern side, but now we have Mizzou, who represents the West, versus King, who also attempts to qualify in the East. And as we know, the East is a little bit better than the West. You know, that's still a little bit up for debate. But Mizzou has proven themselves to be an incredibly strong team time and time again. Of course, Crims, Chalks, and oh my goodness, where in the Whale? There he is. I was confused as to maybe if they were playing with their own substitute there for a second, Taco. But you can see on the other side, K-Frost, Casey Colt, and Matt. We saw them recently this week, and they will be playing with their starting lineup, although we have heard rumors they may need to bring in their sub later on in the series.
Yeah, and that is, I suppose, the twist that we might be seeing in King University. We were reaching out to them. We were saying, hey, they had to play with a sub in the previous round, and they were able to win in that game. So clearly, it's not going to be damaging them too much because at this point in the playoffs, they are all incredibly high-quality teams, first and second in their respective divisions. However, for right now, King University has said that they will be playing with the starting lineup and will be going on with that in the foreseeable future. However, they said there is a high chance that that sub will have to enter in, which is really important. So therefore, if that is going to be a step down, as you would assume a sub coming in, or at least a detriment to your quality of play, or maybe even cohesion based on how many reps the sub gets in, then it's hyper important that these games, whether it's 2, whether it's 3, or maybe if it's just that 1 in the beginning, start off very well. Because if you take a loss and then you have to bring in the sub, then it's turning into a very interesting task to go up against if you're facing off against Mizzou.
Very true, and I mean, we saw, what was it yesterday? On Thursday. What was it that we saw? God, on Thursday. It was Missouri S&T playing off against Northeastern. Oh, excuse me. I must have gotten that one wrong in my memory. RIT played off against somebody else. But either way, Missouri S&T playing off against Northeastern. That was quite the matchup. We saw, though, the experience, I think, shine through for MS&T. I feel like that's really going to be a similar story here for Mizzou, and that's not just because they are, of course, from the same state, and state rivals at that. But, you know, it's that CRL experience that really matters. Of course, Chalks, Crimson Whale, with an amazing amount of chemistry when it comes down to the wire. But, Taco, we talk about the volatility of King, and that is, I think, the biggest question mark that's going to be kind of hanging over this series for me, is will King come out with fire? And we've talked about how they have the potential to be a little bit of a glass cannon. Sometimes they're just a cannon, though. Their offense can be insane. Matt, with the crazy rotations, you were talking about this before we even started the stream. I likened it a little bit to what we see out of Bussy on Stockton. It can definitely be a massive boon for them, but it can also be a bane.
It really is a huge thing to keep in mind, but also I would say that's the exact way I characterize Mizzou historically. They are an insanely good team, but sometimes it doesn't all glue together. So it's all about cohesion. It's all about stickiness with that glue and be able to provide it here in another best of 7 here in the NACE Starleague playoffs. And to be honest, I think this is going to be a perfect matchup because it is 2 people who like to fight fire with fire, and certainly going to be set ablaze here in the next 5 minutes.
I think it's worth stating yet again that this is in the lower round, so whoever loses here is going home. The remainder of the NACE Starleague, of course, in the spring season, that is to say. King, nice little opening here. Matt trying for the low shot, will be denied. A little bit of pressure earlier on for Mizzou. Didn't really turn much into anything. A couple of shots here for King. Only one of particular note. We'll return to a bit more of a neutral game. I like this idea here from Whale. Doesn't receive a pass, but not able to do much more with it.
Chalks trying to set up Crims, and I like the idea, though the pace was really lacking. It was kind of just floating in the air. Hard to generate much power off of that. Same tier with K-Frost. Just going to be able to tap it off the corner, so both teams dealing with everything really well, which is actually really nice to see. As I mentioned, both these teams love to play really aggressive offense, and I suppose it helps when the defense doesn't quite have the read. It's Matt on the near post, just cannot handle this.
I think there's really nothing else to say about that. That double jump put him just a little bit too high. Maybe a slight misevaluation on a situation, a lower 50-50. Certainly would have seen that one go completely neutral. Drop it out for another blue defender. Of course, as we know, history cannot be changed at this point. Demo there for Chalks. They're even looking upfield here for a pass. Gabriel though with the dunk. This could turn into something for King if the defense is not careful, and the pass shot are both there. Still turned away. Nothing less than we expect from teams of this caliber. Matt now left in the backfield a little bit alone. Will be able to make that challenge and neutralize at the midfield. I want to see more out of King out on the offensive side. I think that's a pretty safe prediction for just about anybody who's watching this one. You don't ever want to see it being a one-sided affair. That's the kind of passing play I'm looking for, but Casey Colts could not quite get up to it.
Still going to be in the mixer, though. Crims can't really reach it, so Chalks has to go all the way back and grab that touch instead. So Crims will then take over up on offense. Chalks coming through. Nice dunk. Going to be just wide, and that's going to be able to tap that one safely to the side for K-Frost to extend on. And now here potentially is a counterattack, but K-Frost chose to get that 100 boost. They will not be able to continue on. And going to be 0 still for Mizzou as we approaching halftime, and King is still waiting for, I would say, the first shot on goal. Even though they're leading in the shot count, they're very much not having that same quality that Mizzou was able to find.
True. If Casey Colts, I believe it was able to find that demolition on the rotation through the opposing backfield, though, could have really changed. They are getting a little bit more zone time here. Like I said, I want to see more of King out on the offensive side, but we haven't seen the creativity that we're so used to. Crims in the 1v1 here will be able to beat out Matt. Still shut down by K-Frost with relative ease, although the defensive rotation maybe just a mite slow for my personal taste on that one for King. Of course, they do recover quite nicely, find themselves back on the offensive side. A little bit of a far field pass there on the Mizzou end, but they do end up getting the dunk. There's the read you expect out of Chalks. Just a menace in the midfield.
And Chalks is someone who historically always kind of played, I think, second fiddle to Nitravity in the old Mizzou rosters from a few semesters ago. And then when Nitravity left, it's really up to, can Chalks step up? And repeatedly they have. And by my mark, I would argue the most valuable player in all of the West at times for their squad. So generative on offense. They're not scoring. They're able to set up their teammates, which is what you want out of a team leader. Kind of like this to Whale. That's a nice tip up, but luckily K-Frost can only have to watch that one into their crossbar and out. However, that 1-goal lead still being kept in place with all of this Mizzou pressure as they continue to press forward.
They're not overcommitting on anything as well. They're perfectly content to play with this 1-goal lead, though. Whale down to Crims. It was a nice connection being made there. Interference run by Matt. Was the double commit on the back end now. Might even lead a little bit more of a gap. Casey Colts is there for that one, too. Nice little turnaround. Still some potential here for King on this one. It's a nice 1v2 drive. Matt, though, unable to mask that read on the dunk. Will be dropping out to the side here. I mean, all the velocity here for King on the attacking side just completely dying out. This one off the backboard. They're going to have to make a clearance, and they will. K-Frost actually available for this one, but with no boost in the tank. I'll have to pass back over to Matt. A miss on that. It looks like a relatively good shot. Certainly more telegraphed, and now Chalks counter, double tap off the backboard. Matt with a save. Nicely played there. But they still need a little bit more than that. Crim's going to slow things down and allow Mizzou loads of time to keep this one on the attacking end.
K-Ross will be able to take that away from a map. I think that's just because of boost prioritization, and now it's just making sure that you actually get some touches on it, as King's not able to clear it out, but right now they're just trying to regain some semblance of rotation so they can build forward collectively. As we mentioned, we've seen a couple of infield passes, but they've been either too at the defender, they can't, or rather the attacking player, and they can't run into it effectively, and I think that's really what is King's main issue here. All the looks are good, it's just the pass setup is not, and because of that, looks like Mizzou might be able to close this one out with a 1-goal lead, but you never know until it hits the ground. K-Frost inside to KC, to the back post, and it's gonna ricochet out. That one, the last chance of the game, nearly was what they required, but no, it will fall short. Mizzou taking game one, my goodness.
That is a criminal misplay for KC Colts. I mean, that was the placement that they needed, though. They saw where the defense was, but Taka, I mean, even with that being the case, I want to give Casey Colts the benefit of the doubt. We've all been there. We've all missed that shot off the back post just a little bit in those clutch moments. Problematically, though, that's not the first time we've seen that out of King. I mean, think back to the last time we saw them on the stream. It felt like they were hitting the post and the crossbar left and right. And it required something of a, I think, relatively major mental reset at the very least to get back into form and, get back into fighting shape. So for them, I am a little bit concerned, although with those 5 shots, Taka, you did mention how the setups might have been a little bit predictable, certainly not as high impact as we would hope for, but they were present, and I think that's a very important aspect of this game. Of course, with Mizzou being as experienced as they are, they will take any opportunity and really utilize it to close down the opposing team before they can even break out of their own half. So I do like to see that zone time for King. That's what I said I wanted to see at the beginning of the match. I think they delivered. They do need to take that extra step to try to break through, but it's a wonderful start for them. I think in game 1, of course, taking the loss isn't great. Missing off the back post at 0 seconds isn't great, but, ignore those things for now. I think they've got fire in them.
Well, at the end of the day, if you're going to lose, that's the best possible way to lose, at least in my mind. If you are just constantly hitting shots and you have great setups and it's hitting off the post, it's just going wide, or maybe the contact wasn't there because the setup wasn't there, but the opportunity was promising, then you know that this is a very winnable thing. You're not being knocked out around. You're not barely getting any chances. You are very much in the game. It's just about finishing it off next time. So maybe not trying to pick the perfect shot next time, just trying to make sure it's on target, force the defense into action. Maybe something that King is prioritizing, but apparently they're not going to be too discouraged. They're going off the backboard. That wacky King play that we've come to know and love is rearing its head. Not going to find the end result the first attack, but maybe on the second, K-Frost will be denied by Crims.
Well, you see the wacky King play that we know and love. The wacky part, sure. The hitting the crossbar part, no. Definitely not. I do not love that part. Just a little bit more accuracy, again, would have seen them with goal number 1. Of course, they did have to respect the defense, and they're going to have to make a save here. The bump on the back line. The post will do them favors on this attempt. They might actually see them with a chance to move downfield. Matt in the infield is beautiful, but not enough to get it away from Chucks. What a save out of the back of the net. They'll at least stalled at the midfield line, but Mizzou, they're getting a drive of their own for the counterattack. Crims down low. Can't get through K-Frost. Chucks for the follow-up, and Matt is there for the save. This should see things slow down as most of the boost has been exhausted.
Yeah, you can see it on the offensive players just trying to get it on target, but it's not going to be good enough for the defense. Here's another pass. Matt will be found and right back into K-Frost, the 1-2-1 for the opener.
This is beautiful. This is more like what we want to see out of King, and I believe they actually manipulated Mizzou's read. You can see Whale on the back line here, and they were hoping that Chucks would be able to make that play with the interference on the passing play. Failing that, Whale was in the net, ready as the secondary option, but oh, what's this? They're not taking the shot. Uh-oh. Well, something has clearly gone wrong here. And their read on the defensive side, not nearly good enough to deal with what King was bringing to the table. Well played. That vision puts them on top. They still have a lot of game to go. A demo in the net here. Casey Colt's going to be the only one. Beaten out by Chucks through the mid. Matt not in time, and Crims will take credit.
And this is a tough one, particularly because K-Frost is trying to extend it out. I think they're trying to really go for a 50 or something. But Chucks knows if you're panicking, I'm going to let you flail around and then collect my reward. Casey Colt's in the worst position, not necessarily through their own decision-making, but just because they're so far away from the ball that they can't initially challenge, but they don't want to turn away and give a free shot. So I understand the struggle, and unfortunately King will pay for that slight gap in the rotation in the back. Now it's right back into an even scoreline, trying to see what they can do to break that up. Crims has to be up quickly for that because Casey Colt was rearing down on it. K-Frost is as well. Through the ground, through the defender and in.
I was going to say I love this 50-50 from Casey Colts because of the number of options that it provided the offense, but even more so the 50-50 from K-Frost, hitting that one right into Whale and passed him into the net. I don't know if that was calculated or not, but either way, they'll happily take the lead here. We continue forward in game 2, only 2 minutes out of the opening gate. Gotta say, it feels like it's been a lifetime at this point. Casey Colts and Whale both missing out on that one. That's the kind of respectful play that we note from a lot of these top-level teams. I'll have to make a little nice, respectful play on that one. Casey Colts, 50 down to the side. Crims, this one pops way up high. Bit of a team bump here for King in the midfield. Oh, but a nice demo by Casey Colts. Excellent response. A good way to recover from a bad situation.
And speaking of, a great job by Matt to not only get that save initially, but then hit it off the ceiling. And I was going to say, a very interesting touch there. That nearly creeped through everybody. And this one might do the exact same from KC. They're trying to chase it with no boost. Matt on the infield. K-Frost bumped. That is everybody up, but luckily for King, no one on Mizzou had any boost. Crims will eventually be able to chuck it downfield, and I thought the danger was over, but apparently a miss plus a demo equals a goal.
I think King at this point have decided that sending the house is always the play. They had that on the sideline, and Casey Colt on the back wall, making that touch towards the back wall. I don't know if that was intentional to put that on their own back wall, but it certainly could have been for K-Frost to try to cut in and then make a play off that. Off the face-off here, they'll get one back. So who cares? Who cares at the end of the day? King, they're still in the lead, so what does it matter?
Yeah, a little bit of a kickoff goal. You can see Whale just pausing enough to open up that play. And oftentimes that is the issue with kickoffs, is that you do have someone cheating up. And at that point, you need to decide, is the person coming from the back with 100 or is the person that's far closer to the touch that goes? Apparently the option was yes, because that was exactly what Mizzou did. They set the house on that one, and unfortunately not going to work out for them. So they are going to feel that sting of it being able to get to a nice situation for themselves and then immediately lose out on it. Final 2 minutes, we certainly have an interesting drill at play. Chalk somehow keeping that out, but only temporarily. Casey Colt's putting it in on the easy back post.
It was always going to be a desperation play in this position from Chalk, so they needed some backup when that touch didn't go high enough. And of course, Whale, with really no options after that secondary contact is made. Minute 45 on the clock here and some insurance for King. This is not a situation I expected to find us in after that tying goal from Mizzou. Kickoff goal came through, and then King got a little bit more of a gift off of that. We'll see if they can continue with it. Seems like it should be a relatively simple task here. A demolition towards the net. K-Frost actually going to fake out that one. I do like that idea. They saw the angle that Chalk was coming in on. They knew they could potentially pinch that back towards the net. They made the contact they were initially going for, but the pass is still there, and they do have to defend it. They will do it in good style, though. Whale towards the net. Again, like the differential play, trying to force the defense into doing something. It might just be a big enough gap, but Whale cannot find the angle. He touched away 70 seconds to go.
That's a spectacular find from Crims. The moment he touched it, I was immediately thinking, how are they going to wrap around that for a shot? But that was never the intention, just put it right over to Whale. Fortunately, it doesn't go through, but just show that Mizzou can be very generative in what they do on offense. They're always looking for each other. It's what makes their offense so well when it is firing on all cylinders. But at least for right now, it's going to be a King's game to lose. And at this point, with all this possession, all these demos that I'm seeing Casey Colts and company, now K-Frost getting in on it, it's going to be very hard for Mizzou to build up that attack, because right now they're just being used for target practice.
Yeah, nice little fake there by K-Frost. Whales knew exactly where they were going with that one, and now Crims knows exactly where they're going with this one. Chalks, unfortunately, though, cannot make the frame. Now less than 30 seconds to go. Mizzou, they've been playing a relatively fundamentally based game of Rocket League so far, even in the closing moments, but they need a little bit more. Chalks off the backboard, but it's too slow, and K-Frost will get out in front of it. That may well have been the final drive of the game. This is now King with a massive clearance. The final 10 seconds begin to tick away. And I think there's almost nothing that Mizzou can do against this. The neutral pressure, just a little bit too much for King to even start a drive there out of their own corner. And we will be tied in this series, essentially out to a best of 5, Taco.
And now it's a 1-1, and of course, this is always one of those classic games where game number 1 is so incredibly close. There's one goal. It's mostly a defensive battle throughout the most of the game, and then this one just everything busts loose. And usually, you treat a lot of series like it's a soda can. You're just shaking it up, and it's on the desk, and you know it's going to explode at some point, but you have to open it. At some point, something has to change, and then you pop it, and then all hell breaks loose. I did not expect us to hit that point at game 2, but I'm glad it's here. It's definitely vacant 4. It's a very exciting gameplay, and certainly seems like King feels like it has to favor them.
Yeah, they definitely hit their stride on this match, although I think there's something to be said for Mizzou having a little bit more of a lackluster presence in the offensive side. Of course, the opportunities they did have and they scored on were quite quality. I think that they were able to capitalize on the opportunities given to them. The demolition play, though, I feel like they may have leaned on it just a little bit too heavily. I mean, to that extent, though, I believe goal number 2 against was off the back of a double demo between one of the King players and one of the Mizzou players. So, you know, who really knows at the end of the day? But one way or the other, they're going to have to find an answer. And I feel like it might be with the infield passes. I mean, we've seen a couple of passes now in the air and on the ground for Mizzou, but they haven't really accomplished anything. It's kind of the same story that we saw with King in game 1, except for the problem is more at the source of the shot. It's not necessarily the fact that they're just barely missing, although they did have one instance of that later on in the game. I'm just looking for a response out of Mizzou in some way, shape, or form. Perhaps that even involves Chalks or Crims just trying to take it a little bit more solo and trying to make something happen on the target, force out a couple of defenders. As we move into game 3, All that remains is to let them play it out, see what they're bringing to the table. Of course, K-Frost off the bat with a double! Crossbar down, and Matt will finish it off. That's certainly a way to begin Game 3.
And K-Frost, a player coming in for Sway in the last couple semesters, and they have certainly made themselves known in this roster. Always a player you can rely on for a pop-off moment, and that's exactly why when they see them on the back end, Mizzou needs to be aware that that could end in disaster if they don't shut it down early. And how about that for an early warning? Less than 10 seconds in. However, Whale has something to say about that as well. Dunks it through. Chalk's going to be late to it, but all three Mizzou players, they're looking at the goal, but the angles are not there, and that will mercifully be kicked away for King.
That's just so unfortunate to see, because if Whale had been able to land on the ceiling, they just didn't quite have the boost to get up there. But if they had landed on the ceiling, they would have been able to go for a shot of their own. Now they're looking for an infield here, and Matt's there for the save. Casey Colts an immediate follow-up, and it's turned away. A Mizzou, even on their last drive, there was a moment of hesitation. You could see in front of the net, Taco, as you mentioned, they were all just kind of looking right at the ball, looking to try and figure out what was going to happen. And a moment of hesitation cost them a massive chance for a goal. Grim's looking towards the net here. That was just going to slide right on in. I was wondering if the solo plays might be the key for them, and apparently it might just.
And trust is a crucial aspect of playing in a team environment. And sometimes it is to your detriment because that read was not there on the first defender. K-Frost let it slide, and when it was clear that that was going through and it might be a ground pinch, it is far too late. So honestly, I'm always a fan. If you're not 100% sure on a challenge like that, if you send two at it and you get a save, it might look clunky, but it gets the job done.
Only a minute in here to Game 3, and been a pretty interesting one so far, although I would say not incredibly action-packed. Of course, that goal from Crims was a little bit out of nowhere. The goal from, I guess, it was really K-Frost's goal, but Matt got credit for it. That double tap was quite nice. But other than that, it's been a really slow game on one defensive end or the other. It's got to be an easy save away for Chunks. Can't beat out Matt to that one, though. Looks like a relatively simple play here for King, trying to keep this one in the zone. Well, maybe a little bit aggressive on that one from my taste, but it still does find its way back to the midfield line. They found just a little bit of a gap, and they took it. You have to appreciate those reads. It's something that I complimented Vitir on just recently. I was throwing a post out on Juke on that very note. Casual plug.
Well, I mean, it's good to be able to highlight those strengths because oftentimes that's what the players do bring to their side. And I highlighted Chalks earlier on this specific broadcast, and right now they have struggled to be able to find that final touch. Luckily, it seems like Whale and Crims are certainly kind of fill in that space. Now Whale off the sidewall pass will be able to get that first shot, not the second. Matt, another clear, so Chalks comes back for more on the speed flip, somewhat unnecessarily, and will be a turnover. Doesn't look like it hurts him. Crims just going to slap it right on back, and with pace and an awkward K-Frost read, he'll be able to grasp, but K-Frost, a magician right there in the back, able to dodge all that.
Brits Demolition still does come through, so maybe a little bit more pressure applied now in a 1v1 here. Casey Colts, oh, crossbar down, and that looked like a difficult read. They thought it was going to be straight off the backboard, and it was not doing them any favors.
And Casey Colts again, just finding him in a similar situation in the prior game. Number one, where Casey Colts, you can see them have that read. They start to creep out, immediately realize, oh, I don't know if that's going to be a dribble. And as they turn, shot is just rocketed top shelf, crossbar down. So very good read on Crims to make sure they're not driving past it. They had to put it in off the crossbar, and will be able to succeed. But King University playing fairly well, but at the end of the day, all it takes is one mistake to be able to let in one. And now they have a bit more of a precarious lead to protect.
Like I said, this has been a much slower game than we saw from, I think, games 1 or 2. The shot count up to this point is heavily favoring Mizzou. Only 3 on the King side, 7 for Mizzou, although most of them have been relatively tame if they're not a high percentage play on the target. You have to be a fan of that. See what they can do on this one. Crims trying to force something out, and I think we'll be successful in one way or the other, although the counter demolition, this 50s into the corner. Casey Colts a nice read off the back wall. K-Frost, oh, trying to play it out from Matt. I like that fake idea. I think the demolition might have actually been to their detriment, slowing down the play just enough for the defense to get into the perfect position. They're still on the attack, though, our King. Final 90 seconds to play, and they need something. This might not be the one, though, as it will peter out a little bit to the side.
And Casey has to actually slow down just to be able to get that 50, and will, at least temporarily, nullify the King offense, but not for long. The infield pass, I like that tap down. Even KC's not going to be able to get in there to full function. He'll be denied, and now Mizzou with one of the few remaining attacks they have left. With under a minute, they really need to make sure that they can find something soon. Otherwise, they will be going down in this series. Situation that is going to be rough because this is a game that isn't necessarily a king explosion of offense. It's really just Mizzou's failure on offense to be able to take that lead, and I think stuff like that is really important for them. King University trying to get right back in there, as I just realized I misattributed that score.
I was about to say.
So I suppose scrap everything I just said. I had everything flipped around.
I was curious.
Mode has been turned on, and now it's Mizzou. Like I said from the beginning, Mizzou has been dominating.
Of course, of course. That's exactly. I was getting just a little bit confused. Nice angle here, Whale out of the corner. I think that might have been a little bit of a misrotation on the king part, or maybe just a mistouch off the corner wall. But I was getting a little bit lost when you said, "Oh yeah, Mizzou's failure to score on the offense." I was like, "Taco, they're winning the game." I don't understand what's going on. But one way or the other, yeah, somebody is failing to score, and it is King. Of course, though, I think again, their most effective offensive drive was one that didn't really result in many quality shot opportunities. Speaking of, Mizzou just right out in front of the net there. They will find a demolition on the King side, but they need two in very little time. And now they're down an option. Casey Colts is going to have to let this one out of the midfield. They have no chance getting back into this one, especially as the last second expires. And that will be game 3 now in the books. Mizzou back in the saddle for how long?
And then that was a very interesting game there, but ultimately it does come down to just those situations where I find myself looking at King, and I think that play style when you're playing very quick and trying to send the house, as we said, something they've somewhat gotten away from. They're playing, I would say, as passive as the King play style will allow. It is still at the same time coming down to one player going up for a read, not getting it, and then there's just enough of a gap that Mizzou always feels like they can fill with a sufficient play, and they have been doing that repeatedly. Crims has been getting in on the action. I like to see Whale there, and even though I've been highlighting Chalks as a player, at times they have been a player that has had to step up and really capitalize on all these mistakes and get these goals, but really they've been quiet, which shows Mizzou has certainly been able to patch up a lot of these holes. They don't need Chalks to step up because Whale and Crims are doing just fine on their own.
Very true. And I believe one thing that I did mention in the post-game from game 2 to 3 was kind of how, oh yeah, Mizzou, they're going to have to fabricate a response to this. I feel like it's going to come with a little bit better execution on their passing plays. Or, you know, I kind of added as like a PS almost. I added like, oh, I guess they could go for more solo plays. And I think that's pretty much exactly what they did. You know, it didn't necessarily net them too many quality scoring opportunities, but it did kind of throw the ball across the net a couple of times. It certainly forced the King defense to respond, and it gave them more options or more resources in the backfield, more options for reinforcement and not necessarily playing over aggressive. And of course, that also freed up a couple of spots for demolition, which I think kind of stalled out the transition for King a couple of times. You know, it wasn't particularly prominent. Like I said prior, the demolitions are not a massively reliable part of the gameplay, but they certainly do have their impact here and there. So as we move into game 4, it is now on King to try to find a response here against Mizzou. And this is precisely a solo play I was talking about. You can see how K-Frost, Casey Colts, they both had to get a little bit involved on that play and leave it for Matt. It allows Mizzou now to get into the attacking end.
So we will be trying to look through and see what is going to be the main approach. And apparently for Mizzou, just chuck it on goal and see what happens. Even a bump there, Cape Frost getting precarious, but Chalks maybe gonna bite off more than they can chew on that angle. They're gonna fly by. You can see them trying to wrap that corner of their car around that shot. It shows that Mizzou is certainly comfortable with going all in on that one. Same with Casey Colts. That's a harsh angle, but he did be taken seriously from Mizzou. And same with this Matt air dribble. Crims able to be up to the task.
Oh, but the bump there against Crims leaves the backboard slightly undefended. Of course, Whale able to get out to that one. But a moment of vulnerability there for Mizzou. Of course, patch that one rather quickly. Frost for control is not able to keep on to it though, and that's a difficult waterfall to read. Crims gonna put that one away just about every day of the week. Casey Colts almost even still got a piece of it though, Taco.
I'm 100% of a fan of stuff like this from Whale because Casey Colts has to react to that. They can't wait for it because they know that Whale might be able to bump him if not, and even if they try to go up for it, you don't know, is that going to be a waterfall? Is it going to deflect? If it is, how much is it out? And so you see Whale keel off because they know their job is done. They hit it into an awkward position. The defense is really going to struggle, and you know Crims can take the rest. Same with Chalks here. A perfect pass, nobody home, and off the kickoff. It has gone from a game restart to Mizzou dominance very quickly.
Casey Colts maybe getting a little bit over-aggressive on that play. I think the demolition did come in relatively late though, so that maybe they expected to have some back post coverage there. One way or the other though, defense is letting in a little bit more of a gap. on the King's side. I'm hoping to see a better response from them. In some regard, I mean, their offense just hasn't been nearly as prevalent as we wanted to see, such as in Game 2, for instance. Whale almost even getting that one straight onto the target. K-Frost demoed out of the play now. It should allow Crim something. They had to turn around, grab that boost, but Casey Colt still can't make use out of the chance given to them. Bit of a pre-jump here from Chalks, but still almost no punishment. They have Whale playing deep in the backfield, able to toss this one right back into the end. And it's making me wonder now, for King, they must be reading these plays at the midfield, because otherwise they're going to get consistently thrown back. Matt with no contact on that last one. It is just not a good look for them right now.
They do look a bit disheveled, and even when they do get up on offense, we're looking at these very wide rotations, and now they're just trying to seek passes when they're not even there. Casey Colt is already driving away, so not sure about the situation in the King half, but they need to figure it out fairly soon. This next loss, if it does stay the way it is currently on the score line, is we match, or series point rather, for side of Mizzou, and is already going to be especially difficult with the specter of having to potentially add in your sub earlier on, and apparently that might be something they might think about in future games, because it looks like Mizzou is going to continue to roll.
I mean, there was a solid 50-50 from Crims. You see both K-Frost and Casey Colts here. You would think that they have the double coverage that you would need in order to get that ball away, but still the angle is found. And they allow goal number 3. 2.5 minutes to play in number 4. Casey Colts, I think they want some contact on that ball. K-Frost not able to win on the 50-50 either way. For the immediate follow-up, does get a shot on target. Matt with a dunk. But again, it's still just a very rough-looking game here for King. K-Frost able to toss this one towards Casey Colts, but they're not in time. Whale is there first and makes it 4.
It's like you're backpedaling and losing your balance and trying to remain standing upright here from King, because this attack, they're letting it come at them because they don't want to take it at a weird angle. They're not trying to challenge too early. The problem is the longer you wait, the closer it gets, and there I think K-Frost learns why you can't always do that. The ball just gets 50 right back into the middle, and no one can react to the follow-through. So at this point, I mean, even with 2 minutes remaining, just the way that Mizzou is playing, I'm tempted to almost say this is GG's, and you just got to move right into looking at the next game, figuring out in the final 2 minutes and the minute in between the interlude, just figure out what you're doing here to be able to figure out what to fix. This one might be one back, so Casey Colt's given them some hope, but in that case, that was just a kind of lackluster play from Crims, only going to go right past into K-Frost.
Still, the placement was important on that one for Casey Colts. They do need to be able to punish, of course. That's something that we note as the good sign of a high-level team. And at the very least, if not explicitly of your own intentions, they found that passing lane, they were able to get the placement down proper, and that was something we noted that King can be a little bit inconsistent on, so it's nice to see at least getting something out of this game. And as you mentioned, it may be time for GG's, the way that Mizzou is playing. But similarly, I feel like that King, you know, they might be saying GG's because of the way that they're playing. I have noticed a couple of attempts at passes that might have been just a little bit too far afield. This is not going to be one of them. Matt almost on target there. Certainly, goal number 2 could still change this game. Although I don't necessarily see it in the cards. If that one had found its way inside the post, we could be looking at a potential game here, even in the closing moments.
K-Frost just trying to keep the dream alive. AC off backboard. K-Frost another and off of the side wall, or rather the side post, and it's going to be very rough to see, because this is what we were talking about, where it's, yes, it's a GG's at 4-0, but who knows at 2-4, 3-4, and to be honest, if both those goals had gone in, we'd very much be looking at a 3-4. So this is another example of King looking a bit off, and it's not just in terms of their defense, shot count as well. Of that one goal, it's a bit off 5 shots. Meanwhile, Mizzou just peppering the net. 11 shots, make that 12 for 5 goals.
Casey Colts down here in the net, unable to get the clearance away. And this is another one of those plays where you would hope they're able to make that read, but they fell a little bit off the goal post. It slowed them down getting through the back post. They weren't able to grab another little penny, so they only had 20 boost. Just a variety of things that went wrong there. And it's like these small butterfly effect moments, right? Just falling off the goal post does not seem like a killing blow if the shot hasn't even been levied against the target. I mean, at that point, there wasn't even the pass coming through just yet. But still, that slight error resulted in them not able to have a full coverage of the net that they wanted, and resulted in that goal again. So I feel like there's these small things so far for King that have been compromising their defense, and even on the other end for the offensive side, I feel like the biggest problem they have is just the fact that they're not able to get out onto offense as frequently as we need them to. It feels like a situation where they can get hot, but they need to stay hot. Otherwise, things are going to start really slowing down. They're not going to be able to find these passing lanes. They're not going to have the confidence moving upfield, which is the most vital component of their offense. If they cannot feel comfortable playing in these weird, I won't necessarily say like off meta, but almost like these kind of monkey ball spots, if you will. You know, playing on the opposing backboard, trying to go off the ceiling, you know, making these sidewall passes that might be relatively low percentage, but looking for passes in the midfield. You know, it's about getting, obtaining potential threats. And it looks like we will be having the substitute for King coming in here, which might complicate things a little bit more. But yeah, I feel like for King, we just need to see more of them on the offense, and that is going to be their win condition.
At the very least, with the substitute, I mean, granted, you're not the substitute most likely watching, so they're seeing what's going on, so they're not necessarily having to be briefed. But this is where I'm always curious about how the players ready up, how they take this minute, because sometimes everyone just readies up immediately. We get right back into this game, but then when we actually do get into these matches, or rather, we get to the end of these matches, and then it comes time for the players to ready up. I always notice that the team is down tends to take a little bit longer, just because they want to make sure they soak up that entire minute to really say, "Guys, we need to calm down, take a breath, just get up, stand." And I know that's advice I've heard from other collegiate coaches. Just sometimes you take a tough loss, you just get up and stand around, just stretch a bit for a second, just to understand that it's fine. Take a deep breath. Games get away from them. However, I can't really blame King if that is what happened. Big Wade is coming in as the sub, and we have a lot to fix, especially because Mizzou is looking fierce right now. They're not necessarily locked down on defense, but they are certainly lights out on offense, and that is a Mizzou that is scary to face.
Well, like I've said, the individual presence that they bring on the blue side of the field has been deadly for King, although they will find an opportunity here right off the bat. Maybe another. It's one way up high. Whale has to be up for the challenge, and Big Wade is just denied by that one man with not enough boost to make that 50-50. They're still in the zone, though. Wade off the backboard is looking promising, and K-Frost will fulfill that promise. It's 1-0.
Oh, Big Wade with a big contribution right off the rip. Look at this one. They're going for that redirect. Probably a shot, but ultimately, just because it was soft and off target, makes it a flawless pass into K-Frost on the return into the rotation. So very well done by King. That is the change you need.
We'll see if they can keep it up, though. Like I said, I hope that they don't have to stay hot on the attack. Oh my goodness, Whale with the double tap. K-Frost is still there to be able to make that clearance. Good presence of mind for King on the back end. Wade around one now. Does lose their car in the process. Nice little read there by Whale as well. Oh, Matt, that might have been just a little bit over-aggressive. Now Wade in the 1v1 over top by Chalks. Crims cannot make a play. And what a touch from Matt off the back wall and off to the races, but they have no competition. It's 2-0.
Fantastic improv right here. K-Frost gets a 50, but Matt immediately ready for it, knows that as long as they touch it past that last defender, it is wide open, and they thought that was a risk that they're more than willing to take. Mizzou really trying to get forward, and it looked so clean, but that's why Rocket League counterattacks can be such a fickle mistress. You look like you're about to score, and then within a second, suddenly everybody upfield, no one back home to mind the shot. It's a tough thing to deal with if you're Mizzou. All that momentum coming to a stay, and it's technically with a weaker, on paper, King roster.
Well, of course, it might be a little bit weaker, but it's very different. And of course, if the weakness isn't that much more noticeable, it can be rather challenging to adapt to a new style of rotation. And of course, one of the biggest question marks we had was the experience of the King roster with Wade as a player on their team. Of course, you mentioned how in the previous round they did have Wade play in that series. It was against the University of Minnesota, which you noted, and I considered as well to be a quite talented team. So certainly some pedigree to their name, although they will sustain a demo on the back end here, maybe slightly complicating things. I like that fake. They'll leave it for K-Frost all the way downfield now for a reset.
Yeah, but it'd be a reset, but it's very much King's ability to turn on the jets, and unfortunately the bass back is not going to work through. Matt going to have to be careful with that. K-Frost cleans it up. Chalk slaps it right back off the bar and into Big Wade. Matt try number 2 now. The double tap going to be far too low. Rim's able to, I would say, gather, but very much use boost just to keep it in place more than anything else. And it seems like the King attack will continue on as Matt's going to try to 50 Chalks, and said we will be able to get a couple deflections into the King half.
Yeah, key miss there by Matt on the potential challenge. Allows Mizzou now to get downfield, although slight miscommunication there, I believe, between Chalks and Crims. Will null that attack. K-Frost looking down now towards Matt. Again, it's these kinds of positions that we like to see them play down towards the mid. It's a very aggressive pass. Fortunately, though, it's enough to keep it away from the Mizzou defense simultaneously. This one off the back wall. Whale 50 down now. Chalks with a flick over towards Crims, but just enough coverage here for King. Chalks off the back wall. Whale's in position. The shot low and much too slow. Not to do any real damage, though. Things will get back under control here for the King side.
And looking like they're going for a dunk. They're not getting anything on it as that touch went to the sideline. Whale straight down middle. Now Crims able to try to put it on target as Chalks is able to clear the way, but a lofted touch, not always what you want to see when the goal is open in the backfield. Chalks just able to get back and protect their own goal line, and it's like King University has settled into a rhythm they really do like. They're more than willing to send two players in attack, but never sending everybody, and I think right now that is to their benefit as the defense continues to improve, this time even in the midfield.
I love this as well. Wait, I mean, they saw the dribble there from Chalks, and instead of trying to engage against the ball, they just decided, you know what, I just want you to not exist in the area where you can influence that. Nice save here for K-Frost, but Mizzou are going to need more than that. They want to make this work. And off the back wall, no instant challenge here. I mean, this is a lot of space and time being granted, and they re-neutralize with that challenge. Matt with a bump in the net. There's no chance they can get back to that. Is there? No way! Crims still manages to recover. And what a play. They might even have a counter downfield here. K-Frost dunked out by Chalks, but a flick is just enough to get that one away inside of 1 minute left to play in Game 4.
Oh, Big Wade, what a touch. What a setup to Matt, but he can't get the shot to go. The great counterattack coming through, and right there with Mizzou on these brilliant saves for Crims and the counterattack. That's where they really need to strike. The King defense, I think, has been really solid on these, I would say, more composed attacks from Mizzou. So on those fast breaks, that's when you really need to be clinical. That is when King is on at their most susceptible, and that can't happen. It seems like Mizzou is slowly running out of ideas to go with. Granted, it's only one goal they need to truly get back in, and as I say it, I speak it into existence.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. 22 seconds. This is certainly doable here. We have been making accommodations for the defense, but I don't know if it's going to be able to hold up. We shall find out. King could get some more insurance here. That would certainly be helpful. They haven't faltered up until this point, and now if the face-off, oh, it's not looking good around that, and there's the tying goal. Where will take credit with only 4 seconds between this and the last.
Oh, that's so rough. It looks like Wade actually tried to lose that to the corner. You can see them set up for a loss. The problem is Mizzou did the exact same things. Instead of that really vicious deflection to the sidewall for Matt to collect, it just rolled right into the middle. It's like Whale, and they're not trying to share the glory. They're just going to take it all themselves. And my, this game has swung, Squid. Seems like it always happens that way. And this time, it's going to be even more dangerous because they don't even need OT. They can end it right here. They're not going to get there in time, though. Crims, one more chance, throwing it forward. And one longer clear from King means we will be hitting overtime. Mizzou, with one goal, can knock King out of NACE Starleague playoffs and move themselves on to the next round.
And please know, that's all I have to say about this. I want to see King out on the field for longer. I want to see them really fight the good fight, and they might have a chance here. Whale is in not a good spot. Take it out of the play, and that will be the winning goal here for Game 5. They continue to battle, and we are on now to Game 6, Taco, where the graveyard of many a team has been.
I mean, we've been talking about how we've been waiting for a Game 7. You typically think best of 7, at least we're going to get some match here. We've covered, what, 9+ matches at least throughout these past couple days, and we're trying to get to a point where, yes, we can get to that point eventually. It's only a matter of time, and this feels like a series that genuinely could be there, mostly just because I feel like this is one where you really feel the pendulum swinging violently back and forth at times. Even though that scoreline is close, I felt like King was really revitalized. They felt like they had the answers, and it really just came down to them misunderestimating some touches from Mizzou that allowed that goal. But if they stay tenacious, if they really commit to those confident challenges in the midfield and on defense, they're looking like a really strong team. And I got to give props. I mean, we've talked about him a lot, but it's a big factor in the series. Big Wade has stepped in and honestly has looked seamless at times.
Well, see, that's the thing, though, is the at times. And unfortunately, that's kind of what King specializes at, is at times looking seamless. And unfortunately, I think for Mizzou, or excuse me, for King on Mizzou's side, they don't really, I don't think they're convinced. So for Whale, Chalks, and Crims, I mean, they've been looking relatively consistent. I think, though, for King, it has been an incredibly stagnant performance. And, of course, that is kind of what we said. It's a volatile roster for King. But you're right. Wade has stepped in a massive way, hence the name, the Big Wade. Perhaps he is the big change that they needed. Casey Colts, of course, having a little bit of a rough time. I think it was the whole rotation. I mean, K-Frost, Matt, Casey Colts, and even Wade. In a couple of scenarios, they've all seen their fair share of some questionable moments out here on the pitch for GFH Stadium. Game 6 now underway. King still on their last legs. We'll see if they can continue to perform as is needed. Nice bump here against Crims. Whale also taken out of the play. This is looking like a good start.
It's a good start, but there's no continuation. And as I say that, Crims, they just completely demo someone out of the way, but spawning from nowhere is Wade. What a save. The crossbar being the hero that time, and K-Frost getting another touch. Mizzou getting swatted away left and right despite their best efforts.
A pre-flip from Wade. Who would have thought? Big Wade coming as the namesake, of course. Making that save. Oh, Matt, unable to pick up that boost. Still in the 1v1, but they have to opt for a low shot. That boost on the sideline could have been a huge change-up for that one. They're still trying, though. K-Frost followed by Big Wade, even looking for a bit of a back pass, and it will influence it just enough to get over to Matt. Well, this offense does look like it might be a little bit of a long shot. K-Frost for the redirect towards the target. Not quite on, though. Much too high, and Wales able to play it long down into the opposing half.
A back pass from Wade, gonna get away from them. Dangerous for Mizzou to deal with. Speaking of, actually, Chocks, they're really gonna have to read this one. Now, K-Frost coming in, they're just gonna slap it right by everybody, and that is a nice little attack from King. It's not necessarily too elegant, but it gets the job done.
The fake from Matt as well, very important on that one. They could easily have tried to challenge that one, keep possession over into the side or even into the corner if they got a little bit lucky on that one. The new K-Frost is coming in for the challenge. They had the velocity to get backfield just in case something went awry. But very much like that play call for King, and the communication is key for this team. K-Frost even looking for something more. Crims, though, a big win. Speaking of big, of course, Wade throwing that one towards the backboard. Not really much doing here for King, and I don't necessarily like their odds of holding on to a one-goal lead, especially with Sharks getting a look like that in the net. Just a little bit too low in the boost department to get that one towards the target. A demolition now on Whale. 1v1. It's Chalks versus 2. The fake is there, and they'll hold on to possession. They even get the boost in the corner, but Matt forced off of the threat or physical play. Try for the infield here, but they'll leave that one be. And Chalks, close call on that 1v1.
And I don't even mind what Wade's doing right now. They're just going around the field stealing boosts from Mizzou, and I like that idea up until the fact that they're rotating out to grab that boost steal, and they nearly were leaving K-Frost all alone in the backfield, which can be dangerous. You never want to isolate your defender because, yes, they could be capable of getting that touch. But the moment they're beat, then just to be able for a chance to destabilize the offense, you've really just thrown a wrench into the gears of your defense. So I think that I want King, I'm sure they're careful with. It's one thing to have a lead, it's another one to throw it away.
Ooh, nice little touch there by Matt. We'll make a follow-up contact here as well. Forcing that one out to the side. Just about at halftime here. Mizzou still looking for a re-entry to this game. That's Matt past everybody, and Crims not going to be able to get back in time, opting for the boost. Maybe didn't realize the threat of this touch, and King will have insurance.
And Chalks getting to that ball, but it didn't look like they were even fully convincing themselves that they needed to go for that. They slowed down. They tried to see if they really needed to go for that, it looked like. And meanwhile, they just plowed right through. And sometimes that's the best thing you can do. We talk about how speed can be a weapon for teams, and it doesn't even need to be in a calculated way. Just making sure that you're shutting down anything and making sure any hesitancy from the other team will be thrown right back in their face. King University using that to the full effect, and I would say they have a 2-goal lead to protect. Maybe not for long. It's Chalks beating a defender on the sidewall and scoring from the very same place.
Yeah, they had a 2-goal lead to protect, and they opted not to protect it. Their last challenger, I mean, at the time that Matt made that challenge on the sidewall, all of their players were in the offensive half. I'm not a particular fan of that. Maybe it was a miscommunication on the rotation, but either way, that's why you get insurance. K-Frost even looking here off the face-off. Whale not going to fall for that fake, though. We'll be able to play that one towards midfield. 2 minutes to go. King, again, on their last legs here, trying to force Game 7. Certainly not a bad look for them. Demolition will certainly put a cherry on top of this defensive play. But I still feel like Mizzou has a lot of fire left in case they get a one-off attack, although it has been really relatively few and far between attacks here so far for the Orange team.
Wade left alone. Chalk is the flip reset used to perfection. It's Mizzou 2-2 with 90 seconds to go.
Well, of course, I had to say it, didn't I? What a wonderful delivery, though. From Whale over to Chalks. You could not ask for a more perfect setup from Chalks either on that initial touch. And the flip reset, as you mentioned, Taco, used to perfection. Take that one out the oven. could serve that right up to Gordon Ramsay. He'd be happy with it. Oh, God, I don't like this play. Chalk's looking back towards the mid for the pass, even. The cross-up still going to be denied. Now Crims has to play with this one and will be able to get that one away from Wade. Even a demo of the midfield here against Matt. And that'll slow down King's potential to turn that into an attack. We're in town under 80 seconds. This one towards the target. A nice read by Matt, but they're going to need a lot of backup. This is looking desperate in front of the King net. Still no punish from Mizzou. They're going to keep this one in play. Chalks with an option in the mid. Opts for it, but not quite. Matt is there for the play, making that key read and buying them some valuable time.
I don't know how Matt had really the composure to be able to just stand still, jump up on a blind read on pressure and get that save. And it's like King trying to build out creatively, might bite them, but Whale has a far too tough task with that touch. So instead it's going to be Matt into the midfield. K-Frost trying to encroach, but minimal boost. Big Wade now taking their chance. That is not the deflection you want if it's Mizzou. It is high, it is slow, and it is cleared by Crims as K-Frost decided they needed to go back. I think at this point, they'd be happy with playing for OT, but they got to get there first.
They do, and there's been a couple of dangerous spots. This will rank amongst them. However, Crims able to drop down on that ball. Matt trying for something very aggressive. That's a King look I like to see, although it does not come without risk. K-Frost up in the air for this one. Wade, the only blue player on the orange side of the field. Can't make it happen. The fake is not going to be good enough. Not in this lifetime. And Mizzou looking with a double tap here. Whale now Chalks. 1v2 potential. This 50 straight up, straight down. Whale for the pickup. This could be dangerous. K-Frost trying to get it over to Wade. But a nice read for Crims will push this one into OT. Can King do it again?
King going to have to if they want to force that game 7. Could this be it from Matt? Look at Whale. They will see none of it. Sending Matt to the Shadow Realm. On, we will play with a massive deflection for Matt to then respawn and deal with.
Ooh, nice little demo dodge there by Matt. Will allow them to stay relevant for the 50-50 as well. There's K-Frost, some leeway on that play. Big Wade even again. With some more contact. I will say I am a huge fan of seeing Game 7 here. Big Wade. They wanted that one for K-Frost, but almost no boost in the tank. I don't believe the touch would have been good enough to get away from Crims either. Though Matt out of the corner. A nice shot there. Whale forced up. Matt looking, trying to shoot again instead of taking the passing option. Forcing out the defense. I do like the idea. Trying to whittle it down before they finally take that last executing shot. Whoa, my goodness. I thought that was inside the post for a second, but it will get away. Now Chalk's trying to lead downfield with Crims in tow. Whale's also in the midfield, and Matt is running away from 3 players. Will finally be taken out of the rotation, but buys just enough time for a clear. Crims off the ceiling now, but K-Frost is in the middle.
And I love what Wade's doing. He's causing a lot of chaos. The problem is they're throwing forward for demos when I don't even think it would be necessarily that useful. It might leave the defense shorthanded, but that doesn't necessarily equal a goal. I'd say make sure you dial in, choose those a bit more selectively, because we've seen King, all 3 players were at one point in the Mizzou corner. That can't be good for the defensive structure, and you're going to take it to a Game 7. You got to make sure you're not giving away an easy one.
Oh, nice pass here to Chalks. There's a little bit too aggressive there from Mizzou. I do agree, Taco, of course. Sacrificing your defense is quite the aggressive play when your entire tournament resides on this next goal. A Whale now off the side. Oh my goodness, that was just a little bit farther from K-Frost than I expected. Almost giving me a heart attack here. They'll throw it downfield. Crims with a nice and easy touch over towards the corner. The challenge here, Big Wade with the read off the back row. Oh no, but the pass of Matt, no, that was off the crossbar too. You gotta be kidding me. This is not the time to choke your King. They still put it in the zone. A no touch here from Wade. They're gonna defer out to Matt and try to keep this attack going. Taco, the crossbar and the post continue to plague this team.
Tennessee might be in the south, but I know you have snow sometimes. You gotta find the ice in situations like that, and it's gonna continue to get from bad to worse because it's Crims on a one-on-one. Wade was backwards, gets the save. Whale chucking it on the near post. K-Frost and Matt trying to combine for the clear, but now it's just a settle down. K-Frost, they put it all to rest for the counterattack. The problem is there's nothing there, and there's no one in the backfield. Where is the rotation? Chalks putting it in on the open net, and that is gonna do it.
Wade following the challenge with K-Frost and accidentally drives into their own teammates, fundamentally just taking them both out of the equation. And then, of course, Matt nowhere to be found. Taco. I'm dissatisfied. for Matt to nail that one off the crossbar and for the game to end like that.
That is not ideal. I think we've all been there. Big Wade had a goal, but it was from a kind of harsher angle. It was wide open, but you still have to make sure it's past that near post, inside the far post, and sometimes that is a lot real rough. And even on the follow-up, Matt's trying to keep it high because they have to keep it top shelf, and it doesn't go in. And of course, we can talk to King about that's a failed execution, but at the end of the day, Mizzou didn't defend that, and they were just lucky to get punished. So at the end of the day, Mizzou will go on. Congrats to them, but King University, that is certainly a tough way to go out, but in a way, we've talked about this has been the defining feature of that team is sometimes they've been held back by that exact issue of just getting so incredibly close and then just something goes wrong in the end.
Yes, and I guess on something of a lighter note, we continue going with our Game 6. It's either a 4-0 or a Game 6. I don't understand why that has been the case, but this entire bracket so far, each series has either ended in a 4-0 or a 6-game match. I don't know why. I don't know why that is. I was really hoping for King to, start breaking the mold a little bit, and I think that we can safely say every time we see them playing off against another one of these high-quality teams, they are continuously improving. However, that does not mean that they have improved to the point where they can take these series, and that is the problem. It's like these final little executing bits where they, it looks like, oh my god, that's a perfect play, and then, yeah. So, I want to see them do well and truly, but until they can finish up on these little bits, they need to pull out the janitorial duty. They need to get out the mop and bucket special. Once they do that, then we'll talk.
I think, the thing that is also the thing to bring up, and really the last thing I want to talk about before we're able to grab someone from Mizzou to get in here to interview, is that when we're talking through these games, I think it's so tempting to look at King and be like, that's the reason they're not in, because Big Wade missed that shot at the end, because Matt hit it off the crossbar. But it's everything leading up to that. It's the reason it's a close game is because the defense at times just can't get a certain clear, or they're trying to overcomplicate things on offense. It's the tiny metagame decisions, and I think that's something we do always need to keep in mind. But at the end of the day, King's University is going to be out, and luckily we will be able to talk to a player on Mizzou because we got Crims on the line to be able to pick their brain about that last series.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hello. And a fantastic series by you guys. We thought we could get to Game 7, but in a way that means rooting against you, and we don't want to do that. So congrats on the Game 6 victory, and how you feeling after that one?
We're feeling good. We could have won some of the games we lost. We won't talk about it, but we got the win regardless, so not much to complain about.
Yeah, well, I mean, even looking forward to the bracket now, if I can pull it up over here, I do believe you guys are going to be moving on to playoff against the St. Clair Saints, which is going to be another East-West matchup. Now, obviously, you guys didn't look, I think, your strongest here against King, and you kind of commented on that. On your own, but St. Clair's gonna be a big matchup. Have you been looking forward to this for a while?
Yeah, we know they're a pretty good squad. It's tough. We're just gonna go out there and try our best, and if we can somehow scrape it out, I mean, I could definitely see us taking it to Game 7 or something like that. But I guess we'll just see once we play. Hopefully, we can play better when we actually go and play them.
And so one thing that I had commented on is that Chalks and you have been around for a while. Whale has been in the rotation for a while. And I would say the one thing that I've noticed about Mizzou is that you guys have insane offense, because every single one of you can generate a play. You're so good on offense, but the defense sometimes has been a little bit of a struggle. It looked cleaner this series. I think have you guys been specifically trying to make sure you find a balance in that play, or are you guys just thinking that as a team you've just gotten wholly better and that's why you're finding the success as of late?
Yeah, we've been going over replays with our coach Ulti. We're just trying to work on. I think our problem is just some of the rotations back and stuff like that. But it's going to be a process, and we're trying to improve that for the future.
I think also something I've been asking for a lot of the teams that have been more involved with the highest level, of course, in CRL League play in particular. You guys didn't quite manage to qualify for that CRL World spot, but of course the LCQ coming up. Give me your thoughts. Are you guys feeling good about your odds there? Because there are clearly quite a few talented teams that are going to be showing up to compete. I mean, Louisiana State going to be a notable one, of course. SDSU, Missouri S&T, and the Ottawa Braves are all from the West. But of course, that doesn't that is excluding the Eastern teams too. So have you guys been thinking about the LCQ particularly, or has it been more of a general focus here between NACE and CRL and other leagues even?
Yeah, for sure. Level Next is like, big on our mind. We really want to make worlds. We know it's going to be tough. I mean, I think we're fairly confident on, we can stack up against most of the West teams, I think. And the East teams, we haven't played them a lot, so who knows how that'll go. But I think we're feeling fairly confident when it comes to our chances, of getting an LCQ spot.
Being fairly confident is all you need, and honestly, just the execution, as long as it clicks, is going to be working out really well for you. Crims, thanks so much for sitting down, and before I let you go, any shout-outs you want to give before we let you get on with the rest of your day?
Yeah, shout out to the boys, Chalks and Whale. We've been running it for a while. Always shout out to our coach Ulti and Mizzou Esports for supporting us.
Thank you so much, Crims, and have a good rest of your day. Best of luck with the rest of the bracket.
Yep, thanks, appreciate it.
Lovely to see. Shouting out the boys, you gotta. And I also do like the love for Coach. Ulti's been around for a while, and they're a huge fan of bringing them Mizzou from the beginning. Actually, when they brought it in several semesters back, honestly, the best I saw out of Mizzou was right when that coach got picked up, and they were able to change things up. And a lot of the West didn't know what hit it. So the value of a good coach is underrated at times, and I'm a huge fan of when players are able to give that shout out.
This happens to also be Taco's bid at getting into collegiate coaching. So if you guys need a coach,
toss me a W-2. I'm down.
Give him the money, and he will make your team amazing. Okay, well, maybe that's not exactly true, but
Bro,
you could do
don't
his best.
undercut me like that. You just set it up for the whatever. It's fine. Talk about it.
Yeah.
Later.
Well, in any case, Taco, we do have another match here coming up, which I am rather excited about. These are two teams that we have been seeing throughout the week, actually. Arcadia and West Virginia going to be coming up next, but we are going to take a short break while we do that. We get that next one set up. Maybe grab some popcorn because it's going to be good. We'll be right back here with the NACE Starleague playoffs.
Welcome back to the NACE Collegiate Starleague Rocket League playoffs here, and we are bouncing from King and Mizzou. Mizzou taken in Game 6, as it seems like we always, not getting Game 7, but hey, who knows what awaits us here in the next match of the day. It is Arcadia and West Virginia University, and this one is interesting because if you have seen West Virginia, that's a nice thing. It's a big university, a lot of NCAA schools in traditional sports, but for esports, they're picking up a shard of the former God Squad of Bay State Falls, and that's always makes this team so interesting to me because that is arguably the best player in all of Mexico, which is not a title many people can say, being the best in their country. So definitely a good thing. But we have seen Arcadia on the stream, and we're gonna have to live up to that play style in this next best of 7.
Well, we shall see here, Taco. Of course, both these teams found their way into the lower bracket. So whether or not they have the best player in Mexico, as you so tout Falls to be, which I don't think is necessarily an inaccurate evaluation, but whether or not Western Virginia have that greatest player, it does not change the fact that they're still on their last legs here, along with their competition in Arcadia, who we have seen on the stream relatively recently. I believe we've seen West Virginia a couple of times here and there, but we haven't necessarily gotten an amazing look at what they can bring to the table, I feel. I think there's a lot of potential for that team. Of course, Falls is the mainstay, but with Knight and Rots also on the roster, we have said their names multiple times before, and I am excited to see how exactly they'll be able to live up to the expectations that we have for them.
Yeah, certainly. And when we're looking at this matchup, I mean, of course, we both find themselves in the lower bracket, which means that is next loss and you are out. However, when we're looking at Arcadia and not Owl, Owl Murder is a slightly different nom de plume, and Void and Space Beer. I mean, they're certainly a team that when we were commentating them earlier in the week, we were shocked by that. Their willingness just to chuck everyone forward is wild. And then in the interview, we talked about like, hey, what was the thought process there? And like, there was no thought process. We turn off our brains. That's what we're told to do. And that is how we win. That's just how they play. It's by design, and it works. And I mean, if it's not broke, why fix it?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, sure. Go for it. I still just thought it was. I remember the last time we saw Arcadia on Stream Taco, and we were looking at Game 1. We're like, oh my god, this is so crazy. What's going on? Like we thought that was when they had their brains turned off, and then they turned their brains on. But when we interviewed Space Beer, it was the other way around. It was like, oh yeah, we were like overthinking Game 1, and then Game 2 we just decided is like, you know what? Let's just hit the ball and see what happens. So that was a weird mix-up for us. I think we do have the teams just about ready to go. Again, it's Arcadia and West Virginia. Only one of these teams walks away here, and of course, I think I'm looking most forward to seeing what Space Beer can bring to the table.
I think that's a player that is a bit of a wild card, and I think they kind of like it that way. But we'll have to see really how everything does shake out, because as you mentioned, we do have game number 1 underway. Another best of 7 here in the playoffs. But again, lower bracket, that is what we're most likely to be seeing all of today. And going to be all elimination matches. So, you know, despite these players playing how they want, trying to be carefree and be able to execute on that strategy, you know, that pressure got to be weighing on them in the back of their mind.
Of course, it may be weighing heavy on them, but not nearly as heavy as the powerful torque of the Ford F-150 RLE, built for tough. Hashtag ad. As Space Beer is continuing to compete there. Oh my goodness, I love this passing play. Not Owl with the reception from Space Beer. Who else?
Look at that recovery. Of course, you can't demo the F-150 sortation needed because it's just that large. And also, they're large on the attack and getting the pass in the midfield, and nice little goal 30 seconds in.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I feel like there needs to be like an extra mode at some point. It's just like having a massively oversized Ford F-150 that you have to play as in games. But we'll leave that idea for another time. Maybe we'll pitch that to Psionics. But in any case, they do have the lead. The real question, can they hold on to it? Still only about a minute displaced here from the beginning of this match. Falls looking for some control here. Does not have the recovery on the sidewall, though. And I mentioned how Space Beer was going to be my player to watch out for on the Arcadia side, of course, for West Virginia. If you have any idea about what Rocket League is, you'll be looking out for Falls, but still, it is Arcadia all the time, and Void is responsible for number 2.
You see Falls trying to just hit it to the sideline, but it's almost like Void knows exactly where that's going to go, and they know exactly where they want to put it, into the far post. I don't think they needed that precision. They seem to have a fairly open shot, but ultimately it's West Virginia coming in as the 5th seed in the lower bracket. Clearly the road has been bumpy, and I don't think game number 1 is trying to undo that feeling by any means.
I'd care to agree. We'll see, though. Still loads time on the clock. Rod's available for the pass here. Oh, just not quite into the upper 90. Butterfly deal on that connection, though. That's what we like to see here. False now trying to play this slow game. Doesn't really have much they can do with that one, though. They're instantly tackled. This play will begin to peter out a little bit into the corner. 50-50 again from Rots. Doesn't really achieve too much. Doesn't get it back to Knights. Looking for False now. Space Spear, though, with the bicycle kick. Toss that one back onto the blue side. And again, lots of zone time there for West Virginia. But realistically, almost no impactful shots on target, if any.
At this point, they're just trying to make sure that they can get through the midfield. It's been really impressive to see just how much Arcadia is just trying to press down and really try to force West Virginia to really carve something through their defense, because they can really get these quality passes off. They're losing a lot of these 50s. It's continued to go through. Void gets a win. Owl gets a shot, and luckily for West Virginia, that's not going to find its way in. Neither is that foul from Owl getting dunked to the side instead.
Continue in the blue half. Falls does find Rots, finds Knights. Good little team play to get this one out of the end, but they're going to need a little bit more than that if they want to execute on the attacking side. We've seen very little of False being able to get their hands on the ball, and of course Arcadia instantly trying to punish here. The save is made on the back end. They need a little bit of backup to clear the lines. We'll find it, but we're inside the second half of gameplay now. Falls looking for a double tap on this one, but good luck, and Void is immediately there to read that waterfall down on the ground. And yet again, you know, that's the question we have to ask ourselves. Falls, hugely mechanical player, but if they can't break it away from at least 2 of the players on the opposing side, they're going to have some major difficulties breaking the defense, and Space Spear almost breaking the defense on the opposite side. Falls, again, getting zoned out here, just sideswiped away from that one, and failing yet again to put on a meaningful attack.
Trading paint is an irritating way to get played against, because we always talk about those demos. The Space Spear actually getting a wall dash. I think the direct cam might have just caught that on the bottom end, but they certainly showed that they're having fun. They're just zooming around and getting some nice shots off. That one not going to go in again. Falls thinking they have an open field to run into, and instead they're just going to have to respawn on their own side.
Win condition, I think we can safely say that part of the win condition here for Arcadia is just take Falls off the field. And I'm not saying that because I believe it. I'm saying that because I think that's what they think it is right now. Because Falls, again, like I said, has had almost an intangible impact, and here we finally get something for West Virginia. It's Rods taking advantage of a slightly open net on the left side.
Now, this is the one thing that's a little bit rough. Space Spear coming in, and instead of jumping to hit that up the sideline, they try to scoop underneath, and that's something that you have to really be careful of. And it's also why that consistency, those thousands of hours of playtime often come into effect when you are playing at the side level, because even though you think you have a guaranteed read like that, one underestimation of a roll on the corner can result in a wide open pass. And you know, they still have that lead. Is now very much in West Virginia's ability to come back with one more attack. That was a couple people committing on the same ball there, but I would say it's not going to hurt them, but Void did have to slow down there temporarily.
I think you might have been able to tell from my reaction there how dangerous that could have been if the win was truly sided for Arcadia. Things are slowing down here a little bit. Still a chance for West Virginia. Ball's waiting on the sideline here, I think, trying to pick up some boost here. It is just not coming. Finally, they'll be into the action. Trying to fake out Void. This demo on the back line still. This may yet be playable for them. A slightly favorable spawn, but Void moves it out to the opposite corner. The pinch not quite there. Falls just a little bit too far away from that contact. They are still trying for something, trying to bait him. Void to no success. Who just 50s it through everybody here on the back end. Space Spear now off the backboard. It's a desperation play from Western Virginia. They need something here and now if they want to push game 1 to OT. Off their own back wall, no contact made, and that will just stay up in the corner. Falls, the pop here, Knight and Rots both in tow. This towards the back wall. Falls there in time to keep it forward. Avoid long clearance. Falls just enough contact to keep us alive. Trying to drop it down in the mid to no success. A demolition here against Knight. And finally, we will see not the end of the game. I thought they were going to put it down there. They just drive it to the side. Space Spear trying to kill. No success on that one. A demolition again against Knight. Void for a double tap on this one. Almost
No
dropping
way.
down, but not quite. Falls, trying to play lead block. No, what? What is that? The miscommunication. They had everything to play with. Just one player to take the ball, the other to block downfield, and that's a goal, Taco.
I thought we are about to see a crazy end of the game, kind of lateral play style event, but no. Unfortunately, it's going to look like Falls was a bit too far up, and then you see the next player come through, maybe thinking they can pinch it or something, just desperately, and it's miscommunication. At the end of the day, though, fantastic effort from both sides trying to get that, but it's going to come down as an Arcadia win.
Nah, here's the deal, all right? West Virginia put so much effort into keeping that up at 0 seconds, and every single time they were contested, they managed to make the perfect play to continue the game. And then when they have it free and clear for themselves to make the play, they screw it up. Like, just to me, it's like, did they have like massive mental fatigue from playing like a 30-second, 0 second there, and then they're just like, does not compute, like power off kind of? I don't know.
It's a difficult thing because I mean, we talk about communications. It's really key, and especially at really close saves, you'll often see double commits, even though probably people were calming it just because you have to make a decision. And I feel like that's the exact type of move right there. You see Falls forward, maybe Rots is backing off, but then Falls knows he might not have it, so he doesn't want to call it off, and then you get some weird things. Granted, we're just speculating, but at the end of the day, none of that really matters at the end of the day, Squid. It would be fun to see, but what actually happened is Arcadia took the lead in the series and we're into game number 2. See if West Virginia can maybe carve out something a little bit easier on the beginning of that game, because certainly that game, for the most part, can be characterized by Arcadia dominance through pretty much the entire first half of the match.
Look, Taco, final note on that 0 second. Just because I understand how and why that can happen does not mean I have to like it, all right? That's all I'm going to say. But I do agree, West Virginia certainly didn't look like they had their best performance out of the gate, so we'll see if they can bring something additional to the table. This is actually looking pretty promising, though. Space Beer going to get quite a nice bit of contact on that previous one. Make sure this one clears the line as well. Falls looking for some control. Waterfall, maybe not the contact they were looking for. It does get down to Knight, but it's a desperation play here. A bid to try to keep this one in the orange half, and they might just have it. But still, Void, nice challenge. Gets that one away, back to the midfield line, and there's offensive number 1 down the drain.
And I love how aggressive Arcadia is. It might bite them in the end on this counterattack, but right there, we're looking at Void. Go forward, tap the ball in the corner, and then they lose it. And then instead, rotating back, they just go right for a demo, steal the back boost, and go through. And that's something that ordinarily, without communication, is a very rough play to make, but it keeps pressure very well. And basically, going to continue the tradition. They steal it, but that touch middle to be what they necessarily want. Still able to be competitive in it, and it's like Not Owl will try to pass it out with Void through a couple deflections.
That did look a little bit dicey there for a second, but Not Owl still able to get out in front of that. Could have been a potential shot there for West Virginia. Speaking of, I believe they had somebody on the sideline they were just trying to get to for Rots, but nothing doing on that one either. They'll play into their own backfield. Void towards the back wall. This one relatively easily defended. I feel like we've been seeing quite the simple game of Rocket League so far, Taco. Nothing. Literally clocking 0 shots. That's going to be the first, and there was almost no chance that one went through as long as Knight was uncontested, and of course, there wasn't even anybody in the zip code on the orange side to try to do anything about it. We'll finally see a shot here for West Virginia, but again, that one's well over the bar with almost no concerns on the defensive side. This might be the first. A pass down to Falls. The double tap is there, but not quite on target. Space Spear also sees it away, and will peter out to the corner. That'll be a nice little clearance.
That was a strange word from Space Spear, double tap from Falls, and it was able to be rejected. That pass from Rots needed to be addressed, and Arcadia dealt with it superbly. Not Owl, they're just going to chuck it deep again, and I was looking for an outlet pass into Space Spear, but maybe the angle just too much to handle. They are still going for these boost steals and start going for these wide rotations, but I have to agree, it is a simple game of Rocket League, mostly just because I don't think the teams are really deciding on what they want to do. It's a lot of solo plays and hitting the ball into a position, but not necessarily a targeted find.
Well, it's something that we talk about with relative frequency, of course, is, you know, trying to get as much value out of that first man as is possible, and as much as I agree, oh, Space Spear almost with an angle there, and the pre-jump from Knight, they had found nobody to make contact with there, or at least try to make a dunk against. A little bit of an interesting and, I guess, low percentage play on the defensive side, but there was nobody there for the attack, so it didn't make much of a difference. Now Not Owl towards the mid. Space Spear was looking for a demo and failed to make any contact. Physical plays failing them this time around, but they still find themselves here, and Space Spear will connect finally towards the upper 90 for goal number 1.
I always like it from players like this. I think the temptation when you see a high lob like this is to maybe go for a double tap or go for something crazy. But instead, no, just slap it as hard as possible into that top shelf. You know that West Virginia is trying to scramble around. You know that they're slow on momentum because they've had to constantly turn in place to deal with repeated 50s in their corner. So I like that. Even though we're seeing a very flashy, very fast play style from the side of Arcadia, they know when it's time for just brutal simplicity, that's really the exact moment you need to bust it out.
Very true. But I mean, even to that extent, of course, we have talked to Space Beer, and he said that the plan is pretty much just go for the ball. So, can't argue with that. Knight, no contact on that one. Falls. We'll be there to bail them out. They need a little bit more than a bailout at this point on the defensive side. They need a bailout for this entire game. I wonder if we're going to see another crazy 0 second. I highly doubt it somehow. Just about inside of 70 seconds here, and they're only just getting barely over the midfield line and instantly sent back. They're still looking for an effective attack. Of course, post-era of Falls almost getting the double tap. That was not a good play there on the back end, and now they're getting a little bit complicated. Knight has to avoid a demo. Rots with a tackle from behind to at least relatively secure things for them on the defensive side, but they still struggle to find any sort of meaningful possession downfield. This might be the first chance in a while.
And Rots actually checked that forward, I think maybe to try to find someone. You saw Falls actually turn up, but off camera, they got demoed away because they could just not get away from this relentless Arcadia team. And that is what I like about high demo teams, high pressure teams, is that they can open up a lot of space as an exchange of demos actually goes through, and Falls gonna have to really slow down and then get 50'd into the middle. No contact, but another 50 comes through from Not Owl to rescue them from being a victim of the fast break. Seems like Arcadia has this one in the bag so long as they do not give up anything silly.
Well, that's a bit conditional, Taco. Let's not be too hasty. Final 10 seconds, a nice little save there from Knight on the back line. Virginia, they have no chance to move down with that one. This one off the backboard. Space Beer with the shutdown. And like I said, no 0 second this time. They're rather wary. Instantly close it down. But Taco, I feel like for this one, we talked about the big name on the field. It's Falls. Where has Falls been? Well, I'm glad you asked, because they have been getting shut down explicitly every single time. And like I said, this may or may not have been the game plan for Arcadia because, of course, you know, see ball, hit ball was their strategy in the last one. But I feel like, for the most part, whether or not it's their plan, they are instantly on Falls every single time. They know that if Falls takes it up the sidewall and has loads of boost in the tank, going for a ceiling shot, they're going to have a difficult time trying to make that save. Of course, it is possible and plausible that they make that save. And more often than not, I would argue. But still, those 1v1s produce a lot of pressure on their lonesome. And we saw one time where Falls was able to get that kind of control. One singular time. It was a pass, and it was almost a double tap on target. They managed to make that save, but it was still incredibly close. But we have not seen anything. 0 goals, 0 assists, 0 saves, 1 shot from Falls. Lowest score in the entire lobby. I think that is a byproduct of that complete shutdown.
I think the main thing that I'm really looking for is there's a turning point in a lot of different series where a demo-heavy team, such as Arcadia, will be figured out. Not necessarily in its entirety, but West Virginia is starting to get wise. They'll look behind them a bit more. They'll refuse to slow down on some rotations just to make them a weirder target. And if that doesn't go through as consistently, I don't think Arcadia will struggle, but that has been a huge aspect because every time West Virginia feels like they can get up on attack, it seems like on an exit demo, on an exit rotation from offense, Arcadia just tags one of them, sends them back to their half, and then suddenly West Virginia are hamstringed. It's so hard to generate offense when it's always one player or maybe even 2 players trying to break through an entire back line. And I think Arcadia, even though they're playing really fast and really recklessly, and they say they kind of just see ball, hit ball, and kind of just act out of their mind, it's a calculated chaos. They know exactly what they're doing. They're where they need to be. And honestly, what more could you ask for? Maybe contact there from Boyd. That could have been an opener.
Could have been. But I mean, even to your point, Taco, of course, you mentioned how it's controlled chaos. The thing is when every single player is just going for whatever ball they think they can get, it's almost more predictable in a way, because you never have to question if somebody is going to make an attempt at a ball or an attempt at a demo, for instance. You know that they're going to go for it, and it means that you can position yourself accordingly. So I'm, in that way, quite a fan. So it's very important to make plays easily readable for your teammates, although we are seeing Magic step in here, almost actually conceding a goal on West Virginia, coming in for Knight on this one. Perhaps there will be some sort of a change. They're looking for the pass from Falls here, although that one will be turned away with relative ease.
So we'll be seeing if this flick comes through. And as I say that, Falls is not going to miss this one. They've been quiet, but It's only because they're just waiting for the stage to be able to present their contribution. Space Spear trying as they might, but Rots knows what they have to do. Flex it in the dangerous position, and they'll get their reward.
I mean, not even necessarily a dangerous position is what Falls is looking for. He's just looking for anything. Anything even relatively open in the attacking half, and he'll make something happen with it. Of course, that one happened to be quite the easy setup. A 76-mile-an-hour banger straight onto the open left side of the net, as if there was a defender who had a chance at that ball. This will be, I believe, their first lead of the series so far, occurring in Game 3. Falls, oh my goodness, that challenge. A little bit of pinball there. Does end up going the way of Arcadia. Although Space Spear unable to make a follow-up. That backboard well defended. They'll have to play back into their own end.
Rots, I think they might have had a pass for Falls, but Falls was still turning, so didn't trust in the actual read in the end. Regardless of that situation, they're going to have to deal with a new one. That flick on the near post, and now Space Spear. Gonna chase it down, Falls with a pre-jump, getting a pinch, and what a pinch. That is going to take a lap around the entire Arcadia half, and now it's set right back for Magic. Can't get that double tap, very nearly getting a 2-goal lead there for West Virginia, but they'll settle for one for now.
Ooh, they're looking for more though. Magic, oh no read there from Void, but they can't make the play off the back wall, and Owl, what a cutoff here. Now to 1v1 against Falls, although, when's the last time we've seen somebody win that with so few options? It'll be an easy clearance away. Magic will continue this one downfield. They're looking for a little bit more on top of this. Russ almost an angle there on target, but just outside of the uprights. Continue to play here with that 1-goal lead. This one off the backboard with no touch. And Arcadia on the attack, although this might be a low percentage play. Of course, I say it, almost a play there made by Owl, seemingly out of nowhere.
I was like, I had just to emote there for a second. It's been a while since I've seen a play that clean. Speaking of, Rot's gonna get absolutely denied on the Doomsy Dish attempt, but it's plays like that from Arcadia that I really like. They pre-flip into a position, and even though it doesn't look like it's something too promising, they're able to just carve something out. So Virginia certainly keeping their head on a swivel. They know Arcadia can be able to pop off from really any direction, and so too can West Virginia. They got to make sure these shots are fast enough, and speaking of, that will be just enough to find its way through.
Fast enough or tricky enough, it would seem, on this one. I mean, you can see the player coming off the back post and Void does have to avoid a couple of potential bump plays there on the back end, and of course add to that the difficulty of getting out to that shot in the first place, and you've got a recipe for disaster on the back end. So West Virginia, now with a 2-goal lead, being able to compound their first time lead on this series. See if they've got a little bit more in the tank. Rots in the lead for this one, and Magic almost off the backboard it is, and no touch from Space Spear. They're looking like they might be getting a little out of hand for Arcadia. Owl up in the air for this one as 2 people going at him. Will be able to make a save one way or the other, but still, the defense has been tested so far in this game. They've failed in a couple of key moments here, Taco.
And the defense gets tested, but as I mentioned, this is typically the point of the series where, as you noticed, West Virginia, they are not spending a lot of time respawning and waiting to get back into it because they've been able to dodge these demos. And I'm not necessarily saying that was the bread and butter of Arcadia by any means, but it's another weapon that really kicks the other team while they're down. It's so hard to get anything done. And now that they're able to actually play their game, it seems like they've been able to really analyze what they needed to do, and at least they look much more competitive, if not dominant, because seeing Arcadia be able to advance forward. A lot of promising opportunities, but maybe not on defense. That's going to be wide open for us. What even happened?
That is, well, that's a good question. Oh, well, yeah, I suppose that's an answer. Yep, a backflip in the midfield. That'll definitely do it. Bit of a giveaway, and of course, Rod's going to take that one to the bank every single time. West Virginia getting right back into this series. 31 seconds to go in this one. I highly doubt we're going to see a meaningful comeback, but it has been a very one-sided affair in this match. I think that Magic coming into this one was a little bit of a question mark for us, but strangely had almost no impact. We're sitting at 110 points with only 1 shot to their name. This is kind of a similar situation to what we saw out of Falls in the last match. So I guess being able to facilitate their teammates was their big role in this one. Either that, or West Virginia just decided that they were unhappy with their situation and managed to make something happen. But either way, only 3 shots being registered here for Arcadia as Game 3 will come to a close. They still got the series lead, but that certainly didn't feel like a solid game.
No, not at all. And that was simply just West Virginia being really clinical on their chances, getting their goals, and I think that's the West Virginia I was personally waiting for. We had mentioned coming into this that Arcadia is the lower seed. They both find themselves in the lower bracket, so it's not like these both teams have had their share of struggles, but West Virginia, you expect a little bit more out of them, and I think at the end of the day, Arcadia does have, in a way, the most unusual playstyle. It's very rare when you see a team giving you no respect, and they're just going to rush you on every play. So naturally, I think that might have thrown West Virginia off, but now that they've been able to dodge their demos, they've been a bit more elusive on that. I think they're able to focus on their game, and now it's Arcadia's turn to take the look at what West Virginia is offering up and say, how do we deal with this? Because right now, what we're doing was not effective. 3-goal gap to end that game, be able to give them their first game win is not encouraging.
Well, like I said, you know, there is an extent to which I can say that intentionally going after the ball, while not necessarily the greatest game plan, can make it very predictable for your teammates. However, as you mentioned, if West Virginia figures out that all you're ever going to do is just go for the ball or go for a demo, then they're going to be able to count on that time after time after time, and they are going to be able to punish you on it. Just get like a little bit of a flick over, set it up for falls with a completely open net. Suddenly, Arcadia finds himself wondering, like, how did we fail? Well, really, it's quite simple, you know? If you go after every single ball, they're just going to hit it around you, and then suddenly it's like, oh, look, that player is out of position. Magic. How does that work? But in any case, Game 4 on the horizon. Maybe we'll see some changes for Arcadia. Maybe it's time to turn the brain on just a little bit.
Oh, Squid, let's not get out of hand.
Yeah, that is true. Space Beer gonna be missing shot number 1, and Void can't snipe the upper corner. And Taco, well, I don't know. Just take their stop thinking with the thumbs, I guess. That's the point I'm trying to make. The mechanics aren't going to win you everything.
Well, Squid, you know what I say. All I know.
I don't know what you say, actually.
Is that I don't know. That's
you have literally never ever.
No, that is definitely something I say all the time. It's on my merch line. It's something I constantly am. It's something I'm constantly saying, and I think that's. I think everyone can agree with me there in this loyal NACE esports audience. But regardless of what they all agree with, and you fail to remember, this is still going to be a very nice rest of the series, because now we've gotten into the real meat of it, the stuff that I really like to see, particularly finishing open nets, which I guess I'll have to keep waiting. All of West Virginia almost waiting for the other one to take that.
Yeah, I noticed it too. I was wondering if maybe I just misevaluated the situation there for a second, but no, I think you're... Oh my God. You're joking. You're joking!
I have to laugh. It's the fort. It's just too big. Look at this 50. The audacity to think that you could win that, but then the third player thinking, no way that's going to go all the way through. And if there has been a more Space Spear goal today, I don't know what there is. Void just says holy in the chat because they have just witnessed divine intervention.
BS. That's all I gotta say about that. Well, I guess in this situation, SB for Space Spear. I just,
yes.
You love to see it. Oh, nice demo here. And we'll have a shot on target. Fall's actually going to be, or excuse me, Rot's going to be losing their life on this one, and Falls will be back in time to make the save. This one off the backboard, and Void available for it, not able to get it past the defense. Not able to play that solid midfield line, trying to keep this one in the zone. Arcadia, maybe a bit of a return to the norm here on this offensive drive. However, I don't believe they're going to be able to make anything happen. You can see the rotation playing just a little bit more passive than I think even we're used to seeing, Taco. They will gain some control of this one. Space Beer not able to put it on target, and Void, of course, blocked on the follow-up. Not Owl still trying here. They don't want to give his Falls that space and time. And I appreciate that effort, but it almost provides a gap on the other end. They will be able to save it away.
Magic trying to set up a flick, but you can see that ball teetering off the edge of the car, so I think they flicked before they really wanted to, so that they can still have a flick to give. Either way, still going to be West Virginia. Gonna lurk in the corner, but Void able to slip through, takes it up the wall though. They're making it so much harder on them. I don't even think they realized how open that truly was.
Well, you know, of course, like I said, thinking with your thumbs. I just want to put out the mechanics, and oh, good. Oh, boy. That was a bit close. They do make the save. Rots, though, looking towards the backboard. Space Beer not able to get up for it, but it's just a little bit too low. Right underneath the crossbar was the perfect spot for that, but of course, we all know how hard that is to snipe. So it will still be a lead for Arcadia, although it looks like it was put to the test there. Balls off the backboard. Additional contact towards Rots, the angle in, but they have no backup. Void will be able to guide that one to the corner, maybe even a little bit farther away than that. Owl with the pick up the clearance.
I don't mind that clear. Sometimes clears give away possession, but other time they can keep things interesting. How about this one? The pass from Space Bear and not Owl, lifting weights, bench pressing both of those players in the back post.
Huge vision. I mean, even given the vision, it still feels like a slight error there for West Virginia. I mean, I like the 1-2 connection moving downfield. I don't like the 1-2 connection if you're just giving it right away to the opponents near the top of your own box. I mean, I feel like they were expecting Falls to be there. But Taco, that's something that you talked about, is you cannot afford to be making passes with the expectation that somebody's going to be there. You need to know that they are available and ready for that pass. And Rot's going to be losing out here. Oh my God, Magic! That is such a ballsy play off the close post. You don't usually see people go for that kind of clearance. They just want a safe play.
And Space Bear, they're going to opt for, I suppose, the safe play. They just throw it downfield. Magic, not going to collect. How about Rots? They're wrapping around. Falls and Rots are both trying to close in there in the V formation, but no contact being made, so Arcadia plenty of time, and they opt for the clear again. That one I don't really vibe with. They had time to build it from the sideline, but maybe they figure this is the cleanest way of keeping their defense keeping their defense, I would say, structured and giving them time to get that boost, because I guess they don't necessarily need any more goals. It's all about protecting it.
Oh boy. Oh boy, I don't like that pre-jump for Space Spear. Oh dear. Oh dear. I was riding along with him at that time, and with 66 seconds to go, this is certainly not a good goal to give up. I mean, that pre-jump, that is a, you gotta have some cojones for that one, Taco.
I think that is the main thing, is that it's one thing to be able to have those cojones. It's another thing to let those influence the play. And as you mentioned, maybe let the sticks play, but I think of that situation where you know that shot is going to be fairly isolated and locked off. There's not many options they have on a deck. I think you might have to sit back on this one. It's that weird situation where you're going to encroach on a shot as fast as possible, and then halfway through you realize, I'm really just hoping this gets hit into me.
It's one of those moments where you get out there and you realize, like, uh-oh, I've made a critical mistake. Speaking of, oh, the pre-jumps again! Guys, stay on the ground! Stay on the ground! You can make this save without diving at this one so early. God, oh, I hate it. I hate it. Turn it off. Turn off the game. Get out of here!
Part of it almost feels like a respect of Rots, saying they have the skill to be able to carry that through, but yet the pre-jump before the shot really even gets angled in is certainly puzzling. I can say it hasn't necessarily thrown this game for them, because they still have a chance to get right back in it. Void, I do like that look, but no double tap to be had. Space Beer cleared, but this time they can follow it themselves, no support. Falls will be able to take over, although they will be flat-tired, so to speak. No touch, though, on defense. Falls, slow play, Rots for the shot, Falls the lead block, and Space Spear able to just get there in time. West Virginia, they're not leaving this alone. They're going to keep on pressing. I don't know if they're going to find that 0 second. They're going to miss. It's Space Spear into Void, but it's going to go over and wide. One more touch, but Falls sending that well away. We're going to see overtime, but we could have been deprived by that with an Arcadia last-second chance.
I thought they were prepared to pick that one up, and I was gonna say, oh my God. We talked about it earlier about needing to be a very confident player, so to speak, in order to do things like that. A demo here on the back end, Falls towards the corner, no double tap, and Magic denied here by Owl. Solid read on that play. Take control of it as well, and it's trying to drive this one downfield. I like the idea, two players going for the same demo, I think, on Falls, or at least trying to contest that boost in some meaningful way, and now an open net downfield. Falls doesn't miss these, but Space Bear is there first, off of their own post, and back to the midfield line, guided by Void. Even looking for a double tap, cannot find it, and Owl's also part of that play. The aggression here for Arcadia is just unprecedented, Taco.
And as you see, Arcadia, they're looking a little flimsy. They did give up that lead, so might be tricked into thinking that they're a player that's kind of playing desperate, but they're the ones in the lead in this series. West Virginia still needs one to be able to bring this into game number 5 with an even scoreline on the series. And right now, they're certainly being pressed back as Arcadia doing Arcadia things. Arcadia got Arcadia squid, and they're going to continue doing that by just not leaving this alone, trying to lock down Falls here in the corner.
Literally no quarter granted. And here's Rots. Speak of the devil. He's getting tossed out. Magic 50 by Space Bear. Of course, it's a sizable loss for them, but only in zone time. Of course, what in the world is that? I thought they were about to let that one in for a second, but Falls has the coverage. Back towards the midfield. No chance for a redirect on that one. Is at least going to force Space Bear to make some contact. This one yet again arcs towards the net, and Rots almost there with the play. Taco, all I can say is if West Virginia wins this because a defensive play is made where Arcadia pre-jumps at it and misses, I'm going to be pretty freaking mad. So I'm going to say that. Speaking of, oh boy, that looks a bit dangerous. Space Beer was there. Hey, Glow with the pre-jump and does make the dunk that time, but oh my lord, I will actually just pop a blood vessel in my head if they lose on that kind of play.
It works until it doesn't, Squid. That's what we always have to remind ourselves.
You need to stop talking, or they're going to hear you. Oh god, Ratzi with a shot. Saved away, thank goodness for that.
Space Beer. Really gonna have to watch that one as Falls was nursing that one all the way to the back post. Rots trying to do the same, but they will get very much 50'd. Space Beer, they're going for a demo. Ooh. They're gonna get it, but they deflected it accidentally. I really like that look. It was well chosen. How about the shot though from Void? It's off of the crossbar again.
What a read from Falls as well. You can see the follow-up player was there and trying to make the play, but they get denied by the experience. This 150's right back towards Magic, way up in the sky. Owl's there to contest. They can't make the play, but off the ceiling, still going to be turned out. To move now towards that 3rd minute of OT. Space Beer, the lead player downfield, is going to grab the boost, looking for False as well, and they find it. The close corner was available, but quickly shut down by both Magic and Rots. Still a demolition. This one remains in the zone. Space Beer, no boost. Oh, I love that fake against Magic. And we'll see them continue with the zone time. Falls almost being caught out, going for boost there.
Yeah, but they are able to just do enough, and not only that, set up a counterattack, potentially Magic high lob, but they're going for a bump. Void will avoid that. Falls. Now another touch, leaving it to Rots, potentially the slow play underneath. That was clever, but they need to be even faster back. Magic last second save. This has been an overtime and a half right now, Squid. This is neck and neck, and honestly, you typically see teams start to resign, start to turtle up because they know what's at stake, but both these teams seem to be speeding up.
Oh boy, oh boy. And again, I will say for the sake of readers, oh, Space Beer was massive there, but Void did not turn on it. They had every chance to put that on target. Now the bump here, Rod still makes this pop way up. And Magic available on the backboard, falls down low. They'll make this play and get it out. Void towards Owl. That one also denied by Roth. The connections here on both sides have been phenomenal, but none has worked yet. Falls is gonna bomb this one downfield. Maybe slow things down, but there was no contact. And Space Beer misses too. But now Owl in the 1v1 flicks over to the side, has Space Beer in tow, but no contact towards the mid yet again, and will continue to play.
Void filling in. Decent 50. Forces Rots into a backflip. Space Beer off backboard. They have the boost. They do not have the bump. They went for Falls, but it's going to open things up for Owl to slow play it on the 50. Arcadia trying their hand at just getting some 50s in, but they're only going to get slapped away into their own half. And when Space Beer have to clean it up out of their corner, we have just reached 5 minutes played, an entire extra game of content for all of you. Just between these two teams, just trying to get another game. And keep in mind, Squid, this game has been going on for a while. This is only game number 4.
Gotta love it. And if, of course, West Virginia wins this, we got the Game 6 guarantee, which Taco, as we know, has been pretty prevalent. Space Beer. Oh, Magic, the pre-jump! That one's off the bar and falls. Able to take over. A little bit of boost. We've seen the danger of these kinds of plays before, but Space Beer is able to track it down just in time. Void gonna have to make a play here off the back ball. But with loads of time, they will be fine. Oh boy. Even my mind is starting to go just a little bit. Nice 50-50 here. Trying to load it up into an attack on the other side, but the 50-50, of course, from Owl is available for the follow-up. And I will say, for Arcadia, to make it this far, if they really are playing Unga Bunga, hit the ball, then I'm just impressed with their ability to make optimal plays in general while still having their brains completely off. Space Beer just tossing that one towards the mid. Owl trying to get a little bit of a piece of that. Magic towards Falls. No redirect, and Void makes the save.
I think the one thing I'm surprised about is we were talking about how Falls, such a dangerous player, and guys, we're wondering, man, what's it going to take to separate these two? Falls has yet to record a shot in the 11 minutes we've been playing this game number 4, and who knows, maybe their first is going to be the only one they need. Void needed that save, as that one will tucked away, and not Owl. That's a heck of a 50, and something they can run onto. Falls back just in time, and another longer clear will go through, as we're starting to see a bit of ping pong as both teams exchange possession quickly.
Maybe some Jeopardy music on the minds here. We'll see. I do find it interesting, though, that Falls has 0 stats other than saves, and they're one of the top scorers in this game right now. A little bit interesting. Hey, vie for one right there, but of course, Void is available for the shutdown. Magic towards the sidewall, Space Beer. Nobody in the wingman spot. Well, that balance is a little bit interesting, and that was a dangerous challenge for Void. Losing that 50-50 could easily have meant the end of the game. Should one of the blue players found it to eat a bit quicker, that was, again, a bit of an aggressively slow play on the West Virginia side. Space Beer towards Owl. The wingman will fail, though. Magic does 50 this one out towards the corner, back into the mid, but nothing doing on that attack. We'll continue to play here. Rots maybe a fake on that one, but you can see Falls has to defer off the back wall and still able to make a key challenge. But my goodness, what is the risk taking on both of these sides? They are just counting on the opponents to be predictable just enough.
And as we said, Void had a very dangerous aerial earlier on, and that's the thing that amazes me about Arcadia, is that typically you start to see teams try to slow down, but eventually you have a moment where they have to take a vital risk. Seems like Arcadia is taking the risk over and over, and they're getting away with it every single time. And not to say that West Virginia is necessarily doing anything different. They are certainly throwing themselves forward, open for the Bass Falls! Getting their first shot of the game, and that was nearly the one that ended it, but we're going to keep on going here. 8 minutes into this OT, and God, it's $5 to anyone predicts how this ends.
Oh boy, here's Falls. Again, looking for the air bump, does not find it. But I mean, even on the last shot from Falls, for not Owl to sit there in the net, knowing that Falls is bearing down on you, and not panic and still make the play, just teach me. I don't understand. How do you do it? How do you keep the ice in your veins right there? I would be going for that one almost instantaneously, trying to break down that option. This one towards their own nets. But it will be touched away yet again. To nobody's surprise, the infield, the no contact made either side. Trying to play for the dunk potentially on that one. Oh my goodness. I swear, my blood pressure is rising much too high for this. Over the backboard now. Space Beer and Void both in the zone to try to make a play. They fail to make a follow-up, but Not Owl will bail them out.
So we're going to see Space Beer. Central touch, and now Magic. Trying to get on top of it. What a pass from Magic to end it. And who else but Falls to put it home just shy of 9 minutes of OT. And improvisation like that is how we get finally into a game number 5.
The pogo pass. You have got to be joking. Right now. We saw... Sorry, so we saw... Let's just take a step back. Stroll down memory lane real quick. After... about 14 minutes of in-game time, we saw Space Beer pinch with, I believe it was False, all the way downfield, over top of the last defender for a goal. And then that. What even do you call that, Taco?
Other than call that fantastically lucky, and the only reason I say that, people might say that's rude. Magic earned that goal. The first thing that happened is they scored that. Magic went into public chat and typed LMAO in all caps because he's like, what was that? I had no idea, but it works out, and it still shows that skill to improv that. They probably didn't get the first touch, but then the immediacy of the recognition that if they air roll and then pinch it again, it would chip it even higher. I mean, I don't really blame the defender. 14 minutes in, you have to anticipate that kind of touch. Forget about it.
Just put the next game on. Like,
we're going on.
Normally, if we have 9 minutes of OT, we'll sit here and be like, oh my god, there's so many things to talk about. Not this time. Not this time. That was just ridiculous. I don't even want to think about that game anymore, to be honest. That was insanity throughout, and I don't care anymore. All right, just put the next game on. Tied series. Game 6 guarantee, Taco. Will the pattern continue?
I mean, we'll really have to see, but I will say that already we're seeing Not Owl in the chat saying another OT already. He wants that. He wants to be able to peer as long as possible because they're savoring it. Maybe that sentiment will change if they drop a game here. Falls trying to start one off with a goal, but they're not going to be able to wrap around that.
That would have been fancy, to say the least. I wonder how First Blood is going to go here. I wonder how we're going to see this game be played. And of course, oh my... Okay. All right. That was an excellent read on that play. There to punish Magic. And they missed. That's all I gotta say about that. Now Falls on the attack. Oh, Falls with the air drag. They don't have enough boost to put it on target. They couldn't get around the ball. And yet another quality opportunity gone by the wayside. Space Beer from Not Owl over to Void, and they missed that one too. I swear, are we ever going to get the gratification that we want, Taco?
I mean, you gotta say, we've been talking and characterizing Arcadia in their own words as a team that kind of sees the hit ball, but look at the coordination on that. That was a flawless three-person pathway up until that final touch. So I feel like it almost feels like it is a matter of time before one of those connects. West Virginia certainly has to be wary. If you want to stack that goal line to make sure that defense is clear, you got to make sure that they have plenty of options built to the midfield as well.
All right, I like the creativity there, Owl. Doesn't quite work out. I'm honestly trying to rack my brain to figure out what has been said about this series so far, and I'm drawing a blank. I feel like I should have been taking notes like this whole time. Usually I keep mental tabs on just about everything, but I cannot think of what has been happening in this game because of how crazy Arcadia has been playing and how much it feels like WVU has been resting on the shoulders of False at times to make critical saves on the backline. Of course, that's not to take anything away from Rots or Magic. They've been making very vital plays in the midfield, not to mention on the attacking side, really running through opposition. That we saw some key saves from Magic in the last game as well. Oh boy, so many things happening so quickly, or in the case of the last game, so slowly over the course of 14 minutes, to be exact. We're still looking for goal number 1 here. It's been a relatively neutral affair, 2 shots on either side. As many saves for WVU. This might be a first, though. Not Owl able to get in front of Falls on that 1-2 passing play, and will continue scoreless almost here to halftime.
See Space Beard try to get an intricate touch. Not Owl decide to go against it and go for a bump. Void, they'll go for the ball and not only win it, but be able to extend it, or so I thought. No boost steal either. They're just going to have to rotate out, and Falls company will try to march up the field and not able to connect, so ideas in play, but no real finishes. That one's going to add to the tally, and so too will that one from Void. Bit of a triple tap in the corner, but nothing doing.
What? And Owl not able to get in front of that? Okay, all right. Things are going crazy. Everything I think I know about the game is just completely being shut. I mean, Space Beer had that open read on the backboard, and you think to yourself, oh, that's a pretty simple tap off the back wall. I was expecting a goal, and then he just completely misses. I mean, we felt that with up here. And now there was an opportunity on the back end, of course, with Not Owl be just a little bit too far forward. I thought West Virginia surely was going to score. They failed to do so. I guess I should say less they failed to do so, other than they probably didn't expect Not Owl to be farther than the ball upfield. We continue towards the final 100 seconds. Still scoreless. That's a nice pinch pass here, but Space Beer will respect the touch from Magic. Long fall, some space and time with.
Oh my goodness!
What is that? Off of the nose, Falls. Beautiful shot.
Yeah, sometimes you see an air dribble and you're wondering when's it gonna end. That's what Arcadia's thinking. How many touches can they get? That is so incredibly dangerous, and that is why that close control can make anything happen. That ball was not maybe a single jump off of the ground, and yet it still does enough. That is the game-changing mechanics we're waiting to see.
There you go. And now it's up to Arcadia to respond. Rots looking for a double, almost on target, not quite there. Magic also denied. And Arcadia definitely keeping their wits about them on that front. They're going to need a little bit more. Also wonderful 50-50 there, actually, with a follow-up here. Might be a slight loss, but only as far as Rots now looking for the redirect. Maybe going to double off the ground, but still will not find anything. Curious to see if Arcadia has a little bit left in them. Of course, they still only tally 2 shots. In comparison to West Virginia's 4, it doesn't seem like they're doing that awful, frankly. But we are quickly coming up to the end of the game. If we see another OT, I have questions, I do. We might even see another 0-second. Remember that hero play we almost saw, and I believe it was game 1 or 2. Wait.
Ooh. I was about to say, I'm thinking this is going to be a very
like
simplistic goal that goes through, but I think Arcadia recognized that, got in the way just in time, and now they can do something of their own. Not Owl. Gonna get a demo, gonna get 2, but the difficulty is still the angle. Void says no problem, however. Falls cannot recover, and honestly, you can't really blame him. Did not expect both of his teammates to be absent on that after those demos.
You can see Void was never actually planning on being a part of that play, but as soon as the first demo came in, started sneaking up, it's like, okay, all right, maybe. And then the second demo came through, you're like, oh, all right. Is for me. I'll just go ahead and take that. 20 seconds now to go. Arcadia immediately with one off the face-off with Space Bear as the wingman, but denied. No way! All the way downfield. You've got to be kidding me, Taco. I can't take much more of this.
And honestly, the third man, they're deep enough. That looks fine, but I don't think they expected that not to be 50 at all. That is just a powerful clear from Rots just to clear the space, not even attempting to be a shot, and yet that will, in fact, be the goal that might even win them that game. However, you never know with Arcadia. They got 10 seconds to go.
Oh, no, no, underneath the falls, the dunk against Magic, and the bump out, and they make it happen! You have got to be joking right now. Seriously.
Sometimes I speak. Sometimes I just speak and say, oh, you know, keep it interesting. No, I 100% believe it because this is what this series has been. This is what this team has been. Arcadia, you cannot count them out, and they've been able to fight their way into OT.
I wish this was a 5-game series right now, just to see what would happen here. Final second ticks away. Arcadia tries to keep it up. Magic off the back wall, and it looks a little bit promising. Runs down to falls, looking for the redirect into the top corner. They will be denied, and now potential counterattack. Space Beer, though, loss of control. Void still tries to keep it up. What are you doing, you crazy man? And they will continue to play here at 0 seconds. Not all downfield, just not able to get under it, and we will have overtime.
It's really something to behold. Yet another overtime, and Squid. I mean, hopefully you're hydrated because we might need it based on the last game. For those of you just joining us, last game took 14 minutes to end. This one might only take 10 seconds in OT, but a nice goal, I'd say, from Arcadia will keep us going.
I wouldn't necessarily call that nice, more crafty than anything. Rots here towards the backboard. Void has the contact. Only into the midfield, though, and this looks like a solid attack for West Virginia immediately out of the gate. Balls, though, opts not to turn it on that one. Does have to have respect for the defense. Now, in a bit of a sticky situation, they picked up one demo. This went out towards the mid, and that demolition will be quite impactful. Rots, the 1v1. No contact made. Are we going to have another one of these, Taco? This one across towards the mid. Rots should be in the zone, but they don't even turn on it. They might not have gotten that boost out of the corner, and will continue to play.
People can't see it. Space Beer not only pre-jumped the pass, but then stole the both back corners and a side boost from West Virginia. I have no words to describe this playstyle. It is just utter ridiculousness. Space Beer trying to show they do have some mechs in the flip reset. Not gonna work. Deflection to the back post. Rots with a clear, so not Owl. Throwing it deep in, and so too will the attack continue for this side of Arcadia as they're gonna send another one to the ceiling.
Yeah, of course they do. Oh, falls. Bit of lackluster clear, but they do have loads of reinforcement on the back wall. Now Space Beer in the 1v2. Magic to block, and they've got it. Not nearly as long as the last, and West Virginia continues their winning ways.
And that's a bit of a rough challenge, I have to say, from Void. They're throwing it in from the side to get a flick, but as soon as they go for that, I think they realize why that can be so lethal. It is wide open, and when it's a 2v1 on the counterattack, oftentimes we know the exact strategy the offense is going to take. And I think more importantly now, it's not only another victory in OT, but West Virginia is now 1 game away in a series that Arcadia had looked fairly dominant on early on.
See, Taco, here's the deal. You say in a 1v2 where we know what the offense is going to do. But let's recall one particular Indiana Hoosiers roster that may have subverted our expectations a couple of times in that exact way. Yes, I am still on that, so nothing is ever set in stone. And I feel like this series has been a perfect example of how to subvert expectations, because we had ourselves at 1-1 right near the end of the game, and we were like, oh my god, there's an attack for Arcadia. Gets bombed downfield. I am in shambles behind the camera here, and they still managed to bring it back right in the closing moments, not even 7 seconds of game time later. Like, oh god, it's just, it hurts my heart. Are we going to see the first game 7, or are we going out in 6 again?
It's tough because not only is West Virginia getting back into it, but as we recall, this is actually West Virginia really carving back, getting unanswered repeated games taken off of Arcadia. And that's a huge thing to weigh down because, of course, Arcadia, they seem to be having fun out there. But at the end of the day, you still think you might have to win this game to be able to keep yourselves in. This is lower bracket. This is an elimination match. And as much as I love these teams having fun, you have to think the stress is going to kick in at some point, and it's going to have to kick in soon. Yeah, you got 9 minutes into that lowest OT, but that other one really just took one mistake to spoil us within really the first minute. So moving into this next game, I'm really looking to see, is Arcadia going to stick to their guns? Are they going to trust in the plan? Or are we going to see something different? Because right now it seems like West Virginia, maybe not full countering them, but they're doing enough and it's working so far.
Well, we have seen Arcadia break away from the first great filter of the 4-game sweep, which has been one of 2 for our bracket so far in the playoffs on stream. But now they face the ultimate challenge of winning Game 6, and they are off to a good start, Taco.
And Void just larger. That's just simply how it is. Rot's trying to get a touch and being able to beat out everybody. Void hitting that goal, and that is going to be a nice opener. As you said, 2 seconds, and you really cannot ask for something better. I suppose a 1 second, but let's not get greedy.
Oh dear. Well, here we go. Adventure awaits. False, rare miss there. Does allow for Ross to take the lead on this one. Nice high flick, but it's not nearly enough to fool the defense. They had 2 players on it. Nice double tap from Void as well. Now we'll clear the line. A dunk against Falls even. And they've got a player instantly up the wingman and Space Spear with 0 patience for that play. Falls towards the mid. It only goes as far as Void, and that just saved away by Magic. What a pre-flip back towards the mid here. They're just a little bit too far afield for that one. Although, as I say it, they took the shot anyways, and the defense was never expecting it.
Give me a second, Squid. I have to buffer this shot, and I think so did West Virginia. Falls starts coming out. You just see them AFK immediately, thinking, I did not expect them to hit that immediately. That's what I have to assume. And sometimes it is surprising, but that is why when you're watching the defense and they start creeping out, sometimes hitting the ball deep is the best option just because it's the last thing the defense is expecting.
I mean, if I'm on the defense, speaking of which, oh my god! What is happening? Complete breakdown here for West Virginia. We were talking about the winning streak for them. But now, Rots hits it down, and nobody is prepared. I wish I could pause the game, live time, to take a look at the positioning of the players right there, because Rots taps that one down. It looked like a solid, set in stone, communicated play, and nobody was even inside of the post to try and support him.
I will get away from all predictive talking points for the rest of this match, because to be honest, we might even see West Virginia be able to come back and force another OT at this point, but this is a violent start out from this side of Arcadia. They are not leaving anything to rest. Magic trying to get him back in, and even then, boy, still quick enough to go. So West Virginia really going to have to settle down, not only picking up the defense, but now trying to find some consistency on offense, because they've already burnt the first minute. It's quite the comeback trail that they have to set out on.
We'll see. False leading the way. Oh, False. I thought they were going to hold on to that jump. They used it right away, and they left it for Rods. That was an unsuccessful attempt at that. Now demo downfield. Oh, but Void bumped off the ball. They can't put it inside the post, but they do recuperate. That'll make it 4-0. Taco, you still got faith in West Virginia to come back from this one?
I said it was possible, not necessarily that it was probable. Not Owl able to put that one in on the counterattack. Good job to stay relevant. Honestly, I think we're seeing a lot of it based on just the straightforward statistics of 3 shots for West Virginia. We're throwing it forward, and then we're seeing 10 in the first 90 seconds. So not even every 10 seconds we're getting a shot coming in from Arcadia. It's going to be hard for really any team to bear the pressure like that. And as I say that, not Owl, not able to bear the pressure of that waterfall. That's at least 1 back for West Virginia. So I'm never saying it's out of the realm of possibility, but they're going to need to hope for a lot more plays like this in their WVU.
You know, I'm going to be honest. You sound so just immensely unimpressed by this game so far.
I mean, we've been
I don't know if
spoiled,
that's accurate.
Squid. We've been spoiled, Squid.
I mean, I'm
right
on the
now,
same
it's
page.
Just, at the end of the day, we're seeing this neck and neck, perfect touches, all these crazy things that you're going for a tight angle, and you're not able to hit it. Rots! There's no way that's calculated, but maybe they had the TI-84 and they're able to put that one in on the double.
I mean, it was a good pass from Falls, and then Ross just is like, oh, hey, look. Oh, wait, I think Void touched that in,
that wasn't
actually.
even him. Okay, so there was no double.
All
but
right.
Hey, put it in a weird position and see what happens. Okay, I guess West Virginia has a shot
Yeah,
in this.
yeah, all right.
You know what?
Now,
Fine.
now.
I'll be prideful. I won't be prideful. I'll just take the L here.
All right, yeah, no, but I was on the same page as you earlier. You know, I was talking, I'm talking down to the West Virginia defense. We had, the same, we had 2 sides of the same coin, essentially. It's like, you're over here just, severely unimpressed, and I'm over here just, in disbelief, almost. But also on the same page, West Virginia was just kind of throwing the opening moments of that game. And now they get a gift on the other side. And now Ross, oh my god, Falls, that would have been insane with the demolition right over to the backboard angle. You don't usually see that kind of improv work out. Magic towards the backboard. Ross is playable. Falls once, almost down to Ross. That would have been absolutely off the freaking chain. Well, they do get a counterattack here. And Spaceman puts it on. What is going on, Taco? Oh my god, my mind.
Not even the counterattack, but look at the way they do it. the ground pitch of the Space Spear, just trying to get down the immediate half volley, sped it up just enough. It's going to be hard to save, but at the end of the day, we say it could have been great, but ultimately, in my book, that is a double commit from Rots and Falls. Someone has to call the other off and make sure that you have that option, because that ball slips through, rather, and the defense doesn't manage it. That's where your second player has to be. So certainly West Virginia hungry to get back in, but make sure that you're not biting off more than you chew.
I hate this game. I do. There's no two ways about it. I am not a fan of what is going on right now. Here's Falls, off the ceiling, receiving from Magic. It's on target. Void makes the save. Thank goodness, at least something predictable happened here. I am just not having a good time. Space Spear, oh my.
Oh.
Please. Okay. Why? Why does this happen to me? I don't get it.
Squid, we lament this, but this is also something we often report as the reason we love Collegiate Rocket League, because it's always all over the place. Granted, this is not the way we want, but like, we came into this game thinking, man, it's really getting close. And then suddenly this happens. It's 6-2, and we still got 2 minutes to play. Oh, I'm sorry, I said 6-2. I might mean 7, because it looks like Space Spear and Void not leaving alone, but we're not going to be able to see that. And I mean, I will say, on the upside, maybe I'm cursing this, we will be seeing a Game 7 at this rate. So it looks like...
I swear on my life, Taco.
It's like, if we don't get it, then I am retiring. You can quote that right now, because if they throw this somehow, and let it be known, if West Virginia wins this, it's not them playing well. It will most definitely be a throw in any means if you give up 4 goals in this space of time. So we will be seeing that, and it's only fitting, because this series has been anything but predictable, and how else to end it in a Game 7?
All right, let's see. 60 seconds on the clock. Falls looking for what could have been a Cookseer pinch. That certainly would have been a way to start off a comeback. They still need more. Falls with a dunk with almost no support in the mid. Out with a fake off the sidewall here. Falls for the demo. It's just a little bit too late on that bump. And now the delivery downfield. Void for the double tap. On target and in. That's a hat trick for Void. Playmaker for Not Owl. And now, Taco, I think you might be a little bit safer.
Absolutely, but this is also something that Void is reminding everybody that we've seen a lot of ordinary goals, but Void has been very close to hitting bangers repeatedly, so there's a player to certainly watch out for. And if they're hungry, if they want to score all these goals, you got to feed them. And at West Virginia, I mean, you're in that situation where you got to comfy extra 40 seconds along with the minute in between the games to really try to just gather yourselves, because this is always the weirdest thing when you have to deal with the mental as a team. When you're keeping it close, when you're getting your wins, and then suddenly everything goes off the rails, it can be really weird to regain, and you don't have the lives of having this happen in game number 3 like we saw with some of these other blowouts. No, this is just carnage from the very beginning. Maybe that's the silver lining, that it started off bad and they just assumed that that was a lost cause from there.
Maybe. We'll see. Final 10 seconds here, so this is all over at this point. Taco, oh boy. I feel like I've hardly been able to actually put my analytical brain to work just because of how unexpected everything has been so far in this series. And that's not necessarily to say that every single play has been unpredictable, because there have been many times where the fundamentals are the cornerstone of the play, the basis, if you will. But, I mean, it's just been the rapid and continuous swing of momentum that has been the defining trait of the last couple of games. And it's impossible for me to tell which way it's going to swing next. I mean, obviously, this reset, West Virginia is going to have loads of time. I'm being called out by Void in the chat for being awfully quiet about this. Oh, my goodness. This is what it has come to at this point. But that does beg the question. Does West Virginia regain from this and essentially just pop off at the beginning? I feel like this first goal, maybe the first 2 goals, might have a massive impact on the game, or they might be the literal least important goals I've ever seen in a Rocket League match ever.
It does very feel like when we get into this next game, I mean, you mentioned those 2 goals, it's an interesting thing, because the second goal I usually argue is one of the most important goals in the game, because it's either a 2-goal lead that you're protecting, or it's a tie game and we're right back to neutral. And I think if a team gets up 2-0, that might be it. We've seen comebacks, but at the end of the day, these teams have been fairly good, for the most part, at protecting a lead when they do grab it. And I think that's the thing that I'm a little bit worried about, is this is a lot of momentum from Arcadia, but I don't think it was necessarily as earned as they might like. They're still there to put it away, but most of that is West Virginia just not really being able to handle it. It's a kickoff goal. It's a tap in front of center. That's not something that is replicable unless West Virginia keeps forcing out those mistakes, and I don't think they will be doing that. So Game 7 on the line. Elimination Station is the next stop, and we'll have to see which between these two teams are going to be getting off.
Oh boy. Well, I mean, both of them have passed the biggest graveyards that we've seen so far. West Virginia was able to avoid a 4-0, and oh my goodness, Space Bear! You've got to be kidding me! This cannot keep working! The unpredictable plays. Of course, in this 1v1, Rots has to respect the flick, but they also wanted to have the coverage of the low side, and you can't have both.
This almost feels like this entire series was just one long mental game from Space Beer. You're pre-jumping everything. You're going for everything immediately. And then the one time you expect them to flick it early, they keep it low and they're able to beat out Rots. Magic beating out everyone except the crossbar. Could have been an immediate answer. So that second goal is going to be oh so important, and that very nearly was it. What a pre-flick by Void on the counterattack, though.
Oh, this one almost up for 90, but not quite there. The crossbar plays no favorites. Magic up to Falls. Oh, there's so much to work with here. Oh, there's so much to work with here. But Space with the read. Runs on the follow-up is denied by Nut Owl. What a play off the backboard there for Arcadia. Solid defensive stand. And of course, we talked about giving Falls that kind of space, looking for another double tap here. Ends up as a pass down to Rots, but much too far afield for them to make a play on that one. And Magic, of course, safely in the backfield, Taco. And oh my goodness, I said it earlier. We saw WVU avoid the 4-0, and we saw their opponents in Arcadia avoid the 4-2. Both huge filters for teams that we have seen so far on the playoff stream. But dear God, one of them has to go home eventually.
Balls trying to get very involved with the offense. Looking at a lot of solo plays, a lot of finds downfield from their teammates. And I think it's going to work out eventually, but that is something that we saw a lot in the early series. Ball's taking a little bit too much time and demoing. How about Space Beer get a taste of their own medicine? It's Rots for the tight angle. No save, but not Owl able to scrape that to the corner. No harm done yet to the Arcadia half, but you can feel the pressure building.
Oh, absolutely. Magic here to the backboard, and it's looking a little bit difficult. That one was higher off the back wall. Easily have been a scoring chance. No boost grab there for Void. This one squeezes out into the center, and Rots. A nice little touch into a difficult spot for the Arcadia defense. Rots towards Magic. Good passing play. I thought they were going to go for a 50-50 there. They just go for the raw shot. Now Falls looking for something silly. And of course, will not fool the defense. That seems to be a common theme here. Space Beer yet again on the back wall. Very well set. Able to turn that one away. Arcadia hold on to their 1-goal lead as we move now into the second half of gameplay. And that attempt at a shot, of course, going to fall by the wayside. Falls open net here. Nut Owl nowhere close. And we're tied up.
That's why you have to monitor Falls. They have a great air dribble, but this is why it doesn't need to be pretty. It just needs to be enough to get past that first player. This is where Arcadia's game plan, I think, is at its biggest crux. When you are playing quickly, when you are challenging immediately, it isolates everyone in 1v1s. Once that gets beaten, then there tends to be fairly large gaps. And if Falls is looking to really turn on the solo plays and take advantage of that space, then very much I wish you the best of luck.
Oh dear. Here we go. Final half minute of regulation in this series, one way or the other. Nice 50-50. This will turn out to the side. Void, though, loads of boost and some space. We'll have to make that challenge with Magic. Well played, though. Understanding the opposition's options and being able to utilize them to the greatest of extents. Falls with a bit of a demo dodge here. Again, it's all going to be about respect on the defensive side, I feel, for this one. Being able to safely commit, not sacrifice your defensive integrity, while also trying to formulate the greatest attack on offense that you can possibly gather. This might be one for Arcadia. Space Beer looking for the double tap, but denied by Falls.
Good job to stand still on the backboard, not try to clear that away and just taking a 50, just instead hold it still and be able to push it slowly to the side. It's well done by West Virginia, and they're going to continue that with Falls. Again, keeping it close. Now into the ceiling. Void getting a 50 as well. Rots not able to fall on it, but Magic able to follow, or so I thought. Owl, they're just going to throw right on target. Falls will spike that into the ceiling, but it's not out yet. Void, tight angle. Rots with a backflip, and Space Beer will be able to retreat, allow Not Owl to come back into the attack, but it's into the midfield, and with a demo, Void needs a touch because they were short-handed.
You can see how much cold feet Magic was getting about moving forward on that one. They don't want to make the critical mistake. And a nice little pre-flip there. Actually, not Owl going to be the one that touches out into the corner. One way or the other, though. Clears the lines for WVU. They find themselves towards the attacking side. Magic, a good look here, but cannot get that secondary contact they wanted. It'll be touched out now to the side, influenced by Space Beer and Void simultaneously. And Fells baked out towards the mid. Space Beer cannot find the demo in time. Still on the mid, and Not Owl will snake it through. 41 to go before Arcadia moves on.
The demos have been failing him lately, but not for long. Gets one, forces the other to jump, and look at who it is. Not Owl picking their spot to perfection. Rot is helpless, but to look on backwards, trying to save that one. 1 goal lead, 41 seconds separating Arcadia from moving on, and Not Owl is not playing. He's lagging out. It's going to be cleared by Void, but it might be a 2v3 to end it.
You have got to be joking. The only thing I can hope for is that we go to OT at this point, but not like this. This is not what we wanted. All right, awesome. So we still continue to play forward here in the arena. Oh, still a nice shot there, Rots, though. Not even get past Void. It might be a little bit of an open net, but Space Beer is forced to throw that to the corner. Demoed now. Magic was not reading the play. Rots denied by Void. Final seconds ticking away here. Arcadia just need to hold on, and they will continue to the next round and shut down West Virginia. A pop-up. Space Beer, the fake is there! Magic cannot keep it up, and Arcadia will do it in Game 7, shutting down WVU, shut down the comeback, and oh my god, you could not ask for a more tense finish to this series, Taco.
I really have to agree with you. I mean, this is what we were waiting for. We were saying, how many times are we getting to Game 6, and then it ends there, and it looks like it's fine, and then it doesn't keep going, and then finally, we do get a Game 7, and this was all over the place, in the best and the worst kind of ways. Some of these games, we had our head in our hands. Other times, we were jumping out of our seats because this was so action-packed. This is what high-level collegiate Rocket League is always about. It's two teams battling it out with different playstyles, different mentalities, and it just makes for such an interesting chemistry on the field, and certainly 1 or 2 explosions, the demo meta, the solo plays, everything on the table to feast our eyes upon.
And Taco, I'm looking forward here in the bracket. Arcadia moving on now to what I believe is our top 6, which is a ridiculous performance. And even as I'm looking at who we have, we talked about the potential for LCQ qualification for teams that may not have performed as optimally in the CCA Open as they wanted, may still have a chance in level next. But of course, qualifying for CRL, we know they didn't manage that. That is quite the exclusive club. But the top 3 in NACE that are not already in the LCQ will qualify for the last chance qualifier for CRL Worlds. And I think they might have just made it. We'll give you updates on that as it continues. But their next opponent, UNT Esports, we know North Texas can be quite the strong contenders. But oh my goodness, I mean, we just got to cool down off that game. That was absolute insanity from start to finish. And I honestly cannot wait to hear what we have from those guys. Because we talked to them the last time, Taco, and Space Beer said it. It's just turn off the brain and just go for everything. I feel like that cannot possibly have been the strategy here, considering the amount of interplay that we saw.
I mean, at the end of the day, they could still play that. I think the way that they were, the way that I took it, and granted, this is the clarification that we can really touch on for the most part, is that when we are going to be able to ask them a question, especially if it's Space Beer again, we could say, okay, is that just the general philosophy, or is there more strategic stuff? Because, like, that's at the end of the day what I'm more curious about. Because you say there's no way they could do it, but at the end of the day, you can't just play fast and frantic and then occasionally see, oh, that could be a pass, and then slap that through. So there's still good communication. So we'll have to see if that was mostly fluff. That's just, oh, that's just a play style. Maybe, who knows? That could be a next level 4D chess move. Oh, we say that in the interviews, and then the next team doesn't think too highly of us, and then we just, bust it all out. But regardless, they're a very interesting team to watch. And as a team that hasn't been, I would say, at the spotlight of a lot of different collegiate competitions, I can't wait to see how far they go with this playstyle.
Well, I mean, this is what I was talking about before, right? Even on, like, Thursday, on Tuesday, I was like, well, we really do need to make a spreadsheet of all the teams that we need to keep an eye on, because you end up getting performances like this from West Virginia and Arcadia that are more than noteworthy, I would say. And of course, moving forward here in the playoffs for NACE Starleague, as we really begin to narrow down how many teams we have left in the bracket, is phenomenal. I mean, we still got Saints Blue in the mix, which is a little bit surprising considering that everybody is always on the St. Clair train, of course, with their A team. But the secondary is not something that people really make note of. And they still make it into the top 6, I believe. And then over here, of course, with Arcadia making it, or WVU, I mean, either one of those two teams making it to the top 6 is also like a, wait a minute, how in the world did we get here? But yet, here we are. And of course, I think it's a wonderful performance for them. They stack up, definitely, I would say, if I'm just thinking about it in theory, to teams like IU, to teams like Oakland, to teams like maybe even the Ottawa Braves over there on the western side. I feel pretty confident about their odds in just about every facet when it comes to potentially qualifying for CRL here in the near future, or doing some real damage in the last chance qualifier.
And I think that's something that is always really the different things that we're talking through, is that when we're actually trying to build that spreadsheet, and we say this in a metaphorical sense, but Squid, you and I actually did sit down one day and just say, okay, let's just rattle off as many notable programs, because the difficulty of covering something like Collegiate Rocket League in the ecosystem in general is that you're not just covering, 20, 30 orgs or something like in professional play. You're covering potentially 50, 60, 70, 80 different programs, all that are fairly legitimate and have esports systems and have a real shot. I mean, at the end of the day, we talk about the teams that make CRL being a cut above, but oftentimes they're getting in with bracket resets, with game 5s in the final game, and you have to whittle down, at least in the prior season of Collegiate Rocket League, 1,000 plus teams to 32. And it's the same with NACE. You have a bunch of teams, hundreds of teams, that you just take the top 2 per division with 10 teams in them. It's just, there's so much talent. It's a shame we don't get to see more of it. But at the end of the day, what we do get to see is series like that where they're just going the distance. And that's why even if you do see those 4-0s, they're just so incredibly impressive just due to how rare they really are at this top level.
Yeah. And we talk about this so often. It feels like we're just turning this into the Collegiate Rocket League podcast at this point. Of course, with NACE working as it does with the bracket. I'm glad to have the bracket. I am. But it hurts my heart when we have to send teams home. And of course, as I was saying, I'm pretty sure my blood pressure has risen at least a couple of points just today because of that last series there. And I believe we are planning on getting Space Beer in here before too long, Taco. But I'm just excited to hear what they have to say, again, about the strategy that goes behind it, because I feel like we noted, right? One of the biggest things that I think we saw was basically don't let Falls play Rocket League in games 1 and 2. But I guess that's the question that we'll have to wait on for now, because I do believe we have Space Beer coming in, but that does help introduce the LS hero of the game. LS making an impact in the cancer community, which includes leukemia survivor Brenda. In 2015, Brenda was battling what she thought was a cold, but she wasn't getting better. After being taken to the hospital, she was in disbelief to learn that she had acute myeloid leukemia, or AML. Brenda's treatment started immediately, but it wasn't an easy road mentally. During this time, she lost friends and was even bullied for having cancer. She spent a lot of time indoors and jumped into gaming. After some time, she started streaming on Twitch, creating a place where everyone could be included and treated fairly, as well as a place where she could go to help others. Since Brenda started doing charity streams, she has raised over $4,000 for LS while playing games like League of Legends, Dead by Daylight, and Halo. And alongside Hero Brenda, we recognize the LS hero of the game as the player who made the biggest impact in the match played, whether it be a clutch play, a sacrifice, or provided strong leadership when it mattered most. Today's LS hero of the game is none other than Space Beer. Sir, welcome on to the broadcast, and my first question for you, what the was that?
Yeah, we talked about this last time. I said we are going to keep going for the ball. Over again. That is what it is about right there. That is what it's about.
No further questions.
Yeah, I think we're doing good here. But still, I mean, I have to say, like, this is the thing when we always talk about games like this. I mean, the strategic aspect on, I would say, a conventional series is saying, man, that didn't work for them. I wonder if they're going to change it up. Is there any question that you guys are going to change up the playstyle? You guys just saying, this will work. We just got to just keep at it.
There is absolutely none. I have full confidence in myself and the other two that we're better than whoever else is on the field. And with that being said, we're going to out-monkey whatever they do. There's no strategy involved, but keep going for the ball over and over again. This is now twice we have proven the method works. We're going to continue. I want Buddy. Well,
I mean, at this rate, You may very well get him, but I mean, you still have a lot of competition in front of you. UNT is coming up next, but of course, we're going to leave that question for later. I gotta know, of course, with all that confidence, with no question of ever changing the play style, I mean, I gotta ask about the confidence in games. You know, I saw a couple of spots where, you know, you might have had like a little whiff, and by that I mean a pretty freaking big whiff on an open net, maybe. Does that ever influence your confidence, or is that just a laugh it off kind of moment? Because, you know, people talk about the impact of having fun when playing Rocket League. It was one of NRG's secret weapons. It was a huge thing in the all esports sphere for just like a week or two. Everyone was talking about it. Is that the game plan that you have? Whenever you make those kinds of whiffs, does it ever actually impact your mental?
It doesn't affect me at all. I'm a professional coach. I have no business being good at the game at all. So whenever I do something good, it surprises me and boosts my confidence. Whenever I do something bad, that's what I expect. That's the standard. That's the baseline. So my confidence can only go up as I play. It can only get better. And that's what all my teammates are on. We're all just out there trying to impress ourselves.
It's certainly working out. And I gotta say, like, the one thing, of course, you know, you say out monkey, but there's also so much coordination required in that. And that's the crazy thing about it, is that you guys might be, I feel like you're just flying around there, swinging on vines, but at the end of the day, you're still connected in a way that's so impressive. The amount of demos you go for, I would say, I want to see like the insight into how that evolved, because games 1 and 2, I think, were entirely paved by you just demoing constantly. They had no response, and then it stopped working, but you still kept going for it. Is that just something that you're trying to always keep in the back of their mind, and you'll just keep going for it, kind of like the monkey playstyle, even if it doesn't find the same success?
As soon as we start to lose, we tell Nadal to go for more demos than he was before.
So wait, time out. So the strat does change. You told us the strat never changes, but you're telling me right now the
Just
strat
do
does
more of
change.
what you're already doing. I feel like
It
is
is-
what I'm,
it is-
that's what I'm getting at.
Exactly.
I
It's just
guess it's
reinforcement.
more monkey. I guess if you want to consider more monkey, more demos as a strat, then I guess you are correct. It does increase as the series goes on.
But I guess, I in a way though, I guess that counts as more reinforcement. Well, you know, that's a conversation for later though. Tell me, Space Beer, the choice of the Ford F-150 RLE, of course, built Ford tough. Do you own one of those cars in real life? Because it looks like the only car that could actually fit you and your massive muscles, which I think is appropriate considering your performance in game tends to consist of absolutely dominating your opponents in 50-50s, a la the one that went all the way freaking down the field from your own corner. Tell me about that.
I use the Ford because it makes everybody else upset because they're losing to a Ford. In real life, I have a 2006
Fair.
Nissan Pathfinder that I call the bump wagon.
Fantastic. I mean, one more thing I gotta say is,
There you go.
honestly, I just have to really, not even a question as much as just a comment. I suppose it is really odd, but like, when you guys are in a situation like this, and you know there's a lot of stakes to it, you say you want buddies, so clearly there is that competitive drive to want to achieve and go further. But my heart was warmed by something that chat can't see, and I tried to bring up at times, is even after a 14-minute game, you guys took an L, Magic laughed, and you all just laughed along. It was just like, this is just fun that we're even here. I mean, was that just how the comms were? You guys were just having a blast, and it seemed like it was working out for you.
We fully recognize that we have no business being here, but we're going to keep going.
Well, that's the thing, though, is like, you say you have no business here, but you made it that far, and I gotta say now, this is something I was talking about, is like, y'all, you know, haven't really made a huge name for yourself in the CRL bubble just yet. And yet here you are, making a deep run in the NACE Starleague playoff bracket, and with a potential to make it to the last chance qualifier for CRL Worlds. And of course, I mean, UNT is next on your plate. Said I was going to return to this question, and I am. So UNT next on your plate, but also going to be one of those teams that just didn't quite make it to the World Championship of their own volition. So if you can beat UNT here, what do you think that has to say about your chances at potentially making CRL Worlds?
I didn't even know that was a thing, if I'm going to be completely honest.
There you go. There you go. It's beautiful.
Can't
We're
weigh on your
just
mind
playing
if you
to
don't,
win.
it's not on your mind.
Absolutely.
not on my
To that
mind.
extent that I'm sorry I said anything. Look, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean
Ruined it. You've ruined it.
Oh,
It's
God.
good.
They're getting forward to the next round now. No chances anymore. Space Beer is done retiring from Rocket League forever. Oh no. But yeah, I mean, are there any thoughts now that you do know about that at all?
Doesn't change a thing. Our coach is going to tell us that we have a game. We're going to keep playing. We're going to keep doing our thing, and we're going to keep winning until I get to play Buddy. That's what I am after. I do not want to lose until I play Buddy. And then I'm going to win. But I'd be okay if I lost to Buddy. 'Cause I love
There it
Buddy.
is. That's
Yeah,
the claim.
I was about to say.
It's like it's one thing to get there, but it's another thing
Yeah.
to take the game. But I love the confidence, and I can't really deny you that.
There you go.
You've looked so incredibly good. So with that, I mean, I think we've gotten all our answers and some
sir.
nice sound clips for the social media team. Anything else you got to say and shout out before we let you go?
Absolute. I got no shout outs. Shout out me. Shout out Space Beer.
Shout out to Space Beer from Space Beer. I love this guy. Oh my goodness.
It's top notch. This is bucking the interview trend in every possible way, in the best way. So thank you so much,
Thanks,
Space Beer. And yes,
Thank
shout out
you.
to yourself, and congrats again on the victory, and we'll see you in the future.
Absolutely. Have a great one.
Wow, what an interview! What a character, but also
Wow.
it's so deserved. This team is so fun to watch.
I don't think there's any other way to describe it. I mean, you hit it right on the head. I hope that we see them play tomorrow against UNT. That's all I'm really going to say about it. Is North Texas is a team that we've had some questions about. You know, they were top of the West for the longest time. They didn't quite make it to the playoff bracket over on the Western side, which was slightly heartbreaking. But now I don't know who to root for because I want the story of Arcadia to continue. But I also, feel like UNT, they've been there for so long. And again, we have a number 16 seed making it out into what looks to be our top 6, if I'm reading the bracket correctly, which is unprecedented, Taco. And like I said, a chance for the CRL last chance qualifier for Worlds. I mean, you get automatic qualification for being in CRL. And we talked about how close the competition already is in that, and the fact that now we have to, keep track of another team on our radar. This has been a ridiculous story, and I'm all here for it.
It's been a crazy run, and this is, I would say, if I dare say, the Cinderella run for this team in the lower bracket, and they're going to have to go through some tough competition. But, I mean, oftentimes we get these cagey answers, and they're saying, I mean, do you think you win?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if we play our game, it's probably fine. No, Space Beer is 100% saying, no, I want Northwood, and I also think we can outmonkey that team. And that is just, some people might call it delusional, but I think that's 100% true belief, and they genuinely are trusting in the process. And honestly, I can't even deny them that. West Virginia looked really lethal at times, and yet they still looked helpless against Arcadia when they're firing at full power. So, I mean, what a great series to end out our broadcast day here.
Yeah, of course. And Taco, that's not to say that the whole broadcast is going to be over. We do have Call of Duty coming up later, so if y'all haven't had your fill of esports, later on, NACE Esports will have Call of Duty on stream. But as you mentioned, that's it for the Rocket League side. I believe we're going to have more for you guys this season. Of course, this was only lower round 6. And if we had crazy series in lower round 6, then it's going to be hot stuff coming up. I mean, that's really my final thought. This was an insane day. The most hype I've been for a Rocket League match in a long time, I'll tell you that for sure. And I'm looking forward for more, Taco.
So we finally got a best of 7, and hopefully all of you guys are looking out for some more. So obviously, come back tomorrow for more Rocket League playoff action, as well as that progresses through the bracket. But for right now, stay tuned for some Call of Duty playoffs here for the NACE Starleague, and we'll see you next time.